Chapter 1951. Shengyan had been enjoying this process. But all of this was ruined by Chen Zhao's words. Peter and the others were shocked by Shengyan's unbelievable actions. Their boss could fly. He was really flying. Was he really Superman? Shengyan suddenly charged at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao stood there and reached out to grab Shengyan, who happened to be charging over. He pinched Shengyan's face with one hand and moved closer. "You're not human. What are you?" Shengyan struggled with all his might. His strength was equally shocking, but he couldn't break free from Chen Zhao's grasp. This shocked him greatly. A human definitely couldn't defeat him in strength. Not only did Chen Zhao's strength not weaken, but it also grew stronger. Chen Zhao was also shocked. Shengyan's resistance wasn't weak. It was at least tens of thousands of tons of strength. At this moment, Shengyan could already feel that he was indeed inferior in terms of strength. So, he had to use his trump card. Shengyan's strength skyrocketed. Moreover, his body started transforming in an inhuman way. At the same time, his body exuded a terrifying sense of oppression. Dragon aura? Dragon? Chen Zhao looked at Shengyan in shock. The strength in his hands suddenly increased. Chen Zhao almost crushed Shengyan's skull. Shengyan's transformation was forcefully interrupted. He immediately returned to his human form. Peter and the others were scared out of their wits. What just happened? Just now, Shengyan had displayed a part of his dragon form. In their eyes, it was completely beyond their comprehension. Suddenly, Chen Zhao's hand loosened. He grabbed nothing. Shengyan's body shrunk rapidly until he was only the size of a fist. At the same time, he used this opportunity to escape. Soon, Shengyan's body returned to his dragon form. But he didn't. He was still the size of a fist. Bang! Chen Zhao was sent flying. He really couldn't defend against Shengyan's move. Shengyan wasn't as strong as him, but the shrinking spell didn't weaken him at all. He was still terrifying. Moreover, his shrunken body also made it harder for him to be captured and attacked. Shengyan's body was very small, but his aura was terrifying. Dragon aura enveloped the entire Mingyue villa. Under the dragon's might, Chen Zhao's children all fell into panic. Chen Zhao was furious again. He glared at Shengyan. "I'm going to kill you." Chen Zhao used his strongest form. Clone, all techniques returned to one, dark assimilation, eye of power, mighty god. Shengyan felt uneasy. There was no aura on Chen Zhao. But Chen Zhao was a huge threat to him. Moreover, Chen Zhao was absorbing and controlling the power of the world. Even if Chen Zhao didn't go into his strongest form, he was still stronger than Shengyan. However, Shengyan was too small. In addition, Chen Zhao did not have an advantage in terms of speed. Therefore, he needed to gain an advantage in speed as well. The next moment, Chen Zhao suddenly appeared before Shengyan. Without any hesitation, a fist shadow with terrifying killing intent blasted Shengyan's body. Shengyan's body was sent flying like a cannonball. Bang! The holy and crashed into the sea, causing huge waves to surge up into the sky. However, the moment he crashed into the sea, Shengyan's aura disappeared. Dead? No, he escaped. Chen Zhao's expression was extremely dark. The small world enveloped the nearby sea. Shengyan could not be found at all. However, Chen Zhao did not plan to let Shengyan go. Instead, he returned to the shore and looked at the frightened people. Chen Zhao killed all the men in black. Only Pete was left. Peter was trembling in fear. He looked at Chen Zhao, whose hands were covered in blood. Pete almost peed his pants in fear. He felt that he had accidentally gotten himself involved in a terrible battle. Chen Zhao waved his hand lightly. Dark lava spread out from under his feet. Then it devoured the corpses. Chen Zhao looked at Pete. "Where does your boss live?" Shengyan kept vomiting blood and ran home with difficulty. No one knew this place. It was also his hiding place. However, the moment he ran back, he felt a familiar aura. "Cui Xin, how do you know this place?" Shengyan wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Cui Xin looked at Shengyan in shock. "Who beat you up like this?" Shengyan's appearance was too pitiful. Cui Xin and Shengyan had been siblings for 400 years, but she had never seen her brothers so pitiful. After all, Shengyan had always been stronger than her. There was a limit to how strong he could be, but he was still strong. Cui Xin knew very well that if they fought with their lives, Shengyan's chances of winning were more than 80%. But now, Shengyan was heavily injured. Shengyan was now half human, half dragon. He should have had a pair of dragon horns, but only one was left. One of his arms was broken and hung before him. His body was covered in blood. Saint An looked at Cui Xian with a cold look in his eyes. Go away. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you. My dear brother, do you think you can beat me now? Cui Xin smiled at Shengyan. Yes, I can't beat you now, but the person who injured me can. If he can beat me up like this, he can beat you up too, Shengyan said coldly. If you don't want to leave, then we'll die together. I'll lure that Dragon Slayer over. Hearing the words Dragon Slayer, Cui Xin's expression changed. Dragon Slayers, as the name suggested, were people who slayed dragons. And the person who had been chasing her was a Dragon Slayer. Since when did a Dragon Slayer appear who could injure you so badly? Cui Xin's tone was solemn. Dragon Slayers rarely fought against evil dragons alone. After all, the power of an adult dragon was not something that one or two people could fight alone. Unless it was the top existence among the humans. But those few wouldn't attack the dragon race. Unless the dragon race went overboard. But from what Shengyan said, it seemed like he was beaten up by a single person. This made Cui Xin's heart sound alarms. After all, Shengyan wasn't an evil dragon. But she was a real evil dragon. If the Dragon Slayer were to encounter her, the Dragon Slayer would definitely not let her go. Even if we work together, we won't be a match for that Dragon Slayer? I don't know, but I can't fight back against him. Shengyan coughed up another mouthful of blood. Cui Xin looked at Shengyan, her eyes flickering. Brother, take out your treasures and recruit our people. Cui Xin said. Don't even think about it. Shengyan roared hysterically. He was a dragon, a greedy one. Chapter 1952. Just like the legend said, dragons were greedy. Shengyan was like that, and so was Cui Xin. However, Cui Xin was an evil dragon. She had no time to collect her treasures. Her life, no, it should be the life of a dragon. She had spent her entire life on the run. But Shengyan was different. He had never been defined as an evil dragon. In the agreement between dragons and humans, if a dragon was defined as an evil dragon, then humans were allowed to kill it. Of course, whether or not they could kill it was up to the humans. That was why the group of dragon slayers, or rather, a profession, was born among humans. Their mission was to kill and slay dragons. How to define an evil dragon? That was the result of mutual discussion between humans and dragons. Shengyan and Cui Xin were two typical examples. Although what Shengyan did was illegal, it was still within the rules of humans. He did not actively use his abilities. Even if he was punished by human law, he could not use the power of the dragon race to harm humans. The only thing he could do was to run away. But Cui Xin was different. Almost all of her actions went against the agreement between dragons and humans. She did not care about the agreement or the rules. To her, humans were weaklings. That was why her actions became more and more unscrupulous. That was why she became one of the top 10 villains of the supernatural world. She was ranked 5th and had the title of Calamity. And among the dragon race, she was not the only evil dragon. There were quite a lot of evil dragons who were wanted. That was why if Shengyan was willing to take out his wealth, he would definitely be able to recruit many evil dragons. However, as a greedy dragon, Shengyan had accumulated hundreds of years of wealth. The greed of the dragon race for wealth was unimaginable to humans. No matter how greedy humans were, they would pass on their wealth to their descendants before they died. But there was no such thing as inheritance in the dragon race. Even if the dragon clan were to die, they would still tightly hold onto their wealth. They would definitely bring their wealth into their coffins. There were also dragons who would die in their own treasure troves, letting their corpses and treasures be buried together forever. Who knew how many dragon race legacies were hidden all over the world? Shengyan was the same, or even more ridiculous. Even in the face of death, he would not give up on his wealth. Recruiting evil dragons of the same race? With the greed of the dragon race, how much money would it take to satisfy the appetite of those evil dragons? He would probably have to contribute all the wealth he had accumulated over hundreds of years. If he had to take out all his wealth, he might as well just kill him. I've long known that you're here for my treasures. Don't even think about it. Don't ever think about it. Sheng gritted his teeth as he glared at Cui Xin. Cui Xin also looked at Sheng with hatred in her eyes. You're so heavily injured, but you still came here. It's because your treasure is hidden here, you miser. Qin Zhao didn't have high hopes. However, when he arrived at the Xing'an building, he did not find Xing'an, which made him very disappointed. Peter stood behind Qin Zhao, trembling. Panic was written all over his face. Qin Zhao's mood worsened. Peter saw Qin Zhao punch through a load-bearing wall. If that terrifying power were to land on his body, he would definitely die. Half of his body would probably be smashed into smithereens. Does your boss have any other hiding places? Qin Zhao asked. I don't know. Peter was trembling all over. Facing Qin Zhao, he felt too much pressure. Qin Zhao was like a mountain that hung over his heart. Qin Zhao didn't expect a dragon to be hiding in the L8 area. Sheng'an was also very powerful. Out of all the enemies Qin Zhao had met, Sheng'an was definitely in the top 5. The first was, of course, Tamamo no Mei. The second was the son of Element, Amanda Didier. Sheng'an was actually about as powerful as the dragon Qin Zhao had met on the 9th level of the Tower of Trials. But this was the power of the dragon race. However, Sheng'an was much more powerful than that. Sheng'an also had powerful magic. For example, he could shrink himself so that it was harder to hit and deal with him. Imagine a giant dragon's body shrinking to the size of a fist under the condition that its strength did not change. What would the consequences be? It was almost undefeatable. His ability to escape was also unparalleled. At least, Qin Zhao still didn't know how Sheng'an had escaped. What kind of magic did he use to escape? When Qin Zhao returned to Mingyue Villa, Fei Lai was already there. Qin, I heard that you killed a few people at your house today? Fei Lai asked. Portia said that? You should be careful. No matter what, killing people at home is too bad of an influence. It's my fault. Qin Zhao didn't argue. Portia, it's me. Portia received Qin Zhao's call. Today wasn't a pleasant experience for Portia. She knew that Qin Zhao would kill people. She'd also seen him do it. However, someone had attacked Qin Zhao first. Qin Zhao was forced to fight back. However, she didn't know what exactly had happened today. She didn't see Peter clearly. She didn't know that she was the one who'd caused all this. How are you? I'm fine. Boss, who are those people? Bad people. Qin Zhao didn't plan on explaining anything to Portia either. He didn't feel like he had to. He was the boss, not Portia's subordinate. If Portia couldn't accept it, she could leave. If today's loss affects you in any way, I can give you a few days to rest. Okay, I understand. She indeed needed to calm down now. After all, the scene was too shocking for her. As soon as she hung up, Portia heard the door open. Zephyr was back. When she saw Portia, she was a bit surprised. Portia, did something happen to you today? You look really pale. I saw my boss kill someone, Portia said. You saw your boss kill someone? Was he going to silence you? No, then why didn't you call the police? Those people broke into his house with guns, Portia said. He had enough reason to kill them. Really? So your boss didn't kill you? If he wanted to kill me, he would have done it in my house. There's no need to wait until now. You can set my number as an emergency number. If you're in danger, I might be able to help. Okay, let's not talk about this. You'll cook dinner tonight. Chapter 1953. Portia was waiting for Riva to make dinner in the living room. Because of the fright, Portia did not have the time to have dinner at Mingyue Villa. Just then, Riva's phone on the living room table rang. Portia saw the name on the screen, Dragon Slayer Elux. Riva, you're on the phone, Portia called. Riva quickly ran out to pick up the phone. Riva, it's me Ux. We found traces of the calamity Cui Xin. She appeared at the magic store today and bought a lot of potions and raw materials. It seems that she's injured. Are you sure she's in the city now? Yes, we've set up a detection magic array around Los Angeles. If a dragon goes in or out, we'll be able to detect it. Okay, got it. Contact me immediately if there's any news, Riva said. After Riva hung up, Portia came up to her. Riva, are you playing a game? Riva looked at Portia and nodded after a moment of silence. Yes. I knew it. Portia nodded confidently. What game are you playing with your friend? Oh, the vegetables in the pot are burnt. Riva suddenly ran to the kitchen in a panic. While they were eating dinner, Refra called again. Portia, I'm going out tonight. Now? It's so late. Will it be dangerous for you to go out alone? Portia looked at Riva with concern. Why do you have to go out now? Can't you go out tomorrow? In America, going out at night had always been a dangerous thing. 80% of criminal cases happened at night. This was not China. Even if a girl lay on the street for a night, nothing would happen. It was more likely that the person who was found would call the police. It's urgent. Riva stopped eating and went back to her room to clean up. Before leaving, she carried a suitcase. Riva drove the car to the front of a forest. Just then, another person came. It was Ilux. Ilux carried a pair of axes on his back. He was tall and strong. He was wearing a small vest and military boots. He looked very heroic. However, when talking to Riva, Ilux was obviously talking to her in a subordinate tone. Zafra, you came so fast. What did you find here? Zafra asked. We detected a huge energy reaction here. As dragon slayers, each of them carried some kind of apparatus with them. It could detect energy reactions within a certain range. Of course, this kind of detection device could only work on high-energy reactions. Most of the evil dragons they hunted were extremely vicious and powerful. However, the range of this detection device was only 10 kilometers. A diameter of 10 kilometers was neither too big nor too small. Just the two of us? Zephyr asked. If Cui seen the calamity hadn't left, the two of us dragon slayers would have become her food. The others are also rushing over. There were far more dragon slayers in Los Angeles than the two of them. There were a total of 12 dragon slayers, and their leader was the seemingly young Zafra. Their group of dragon slayers had successfully killed an evil dragon. Hunting down an evil dragon was not a problem that could be solved with just 1 or 2 battles. Both sides needed to compete for a long time. In terms of pure strength, the evil dragon was undoubtedly the stronger side. However, humans were good at using all kinds of conditions and traps. Not every dragon slayer group could succeed. However, the advantage of the dragon slayers was in numbers. If one group was destroyed, another group would take over. Perhaps 10, 20, 50 years, or even 100 years was possible in order to hunt down an evil dragon. Zephyra could lead a group to kill an evil dragon. Apart from her outstanding leadership skills, it also showed that her group was strong enough. Zephyra would not undervalue herself, but she would not be arrogant either. Against any evil dragon, one could not be careless or underestimate the enemy. No matter what, the dragon slayers would always be at a disadvantage. Their only advantage was their cautiousness and perseverance. Evil dragons would get tired of carrying around after a long escape, but the dragon slayers would not. The dragon slayers were born with a lot of extraordinary experiences and training. Whether it was the spirit or the body, they had already surpassed ordinary people. From the firearms and magical equipment of humans to their own combat magic, they were all top-notch existences. Zephyra and Ilux entered the forest. In the rugged mountain road, the two still walked as if they were flying, as if they were walking on flat ground. This kind of environment was not even a regular test for the two of them. The harsh environment they had experienced was the limit of humans. Just then, Zephyr suddenly stopped. Ilux looked at Zephyr and asked, "What's wrong? Did you find anything? Did you find anything special about this environment?" Ilux frowned and looked around. This place is surrounded by mountains and faces the sea in the southwest. It's an excellent place to grow dragon heartgrass. That's right. Zephyr nodded. This is probably a place where dragons grow dragon heartgrass, and it's not Calamity Chue Sing. It's probably another dragon. You're saying that there's a second dragon in the Los Angeles area? Dragon heartgrass is a magic herb used by dragons to heal themselves, and Calamity Chui-Sin bought a lot of potions from magic stores. But she did not fight with us in Los Angeles, so it's not that she was injured. It's very likely that another dragon in the Los Angeles area was injured, so she came out to collect healing potions and magic herbs. If that's the case, we're in trouble. It's already very difficult for us to deal with Calamity Chui-Sin, and now we have to deal with a second dragon. We have almost no chance of winning. But think about it carefully. Who was the one who injured the second dragon? Who? Elux was not good at using his brain. His strength was similar to Zephyr's. But in terms of leadership, action planning, and intelligence analysis, he was far inferior to Zephyr. That was why Zephyr was the leader of the small team, not Elux. There are three possibilities. One is that the dragons are fighting among themselves, but Chui-Sin will take the initiative to find healing materials and potions, so the possibility is very low. The other is that there's another Dragon Slayer team in Los Angeles that is not weaker than us. This is the most likely possibility. What about the third possibility? Chapter 1954. We're in contact with most of the Dragon Slayer teams. If other teams come to Los Angeles, they'll probably inform us. So, if it's not the first two possibilities, there's also a possibility that there's a powerful spiritualist or individual in Los Angeles. This possibility is the lowest. After all, in the spiritual world, the only two people who are confident in going against an adult dragon are the Scarlet Church's 23rd generation Blood Mary and Huaxia's Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sex Zhang Tianyi. Zephyr analyzed. But they wouldn't come to Los Angeles for no reason and come here without a trace. Of course, if it's the second possibility, maybe the Dragon Slayer team sneaked in to cover up. Being a Dragon Slayer was a high-risk industry, so it was understandable that there would be confidentiality measures. Just then, the two found a huge claw mark on the ground. It's here. Zephyr stood in front of the mark. Elux squatted down and examined the huge mark. There was an irregular hole in the center of the mark. Something seemed to have been pulled out. From the marks, it's Calamity Chui-Sin. The dragon heart grass was pulled out from here. The dragon heart grass was like grass to the dragon clan. But to humans it was a big tree. Because the situation was unclear, Zephyr felt complicated. She didn't know if it was good or bad. There was one more dragon on their mission list. If two dragons came together, a single Dragon Slayer team wouldn't be able to deal with them. But if there was another Dragon Slayer team in Los Angeles, and one that could seriously injure a dragon, that would definitely be a powerful reinforcement. Let's go. The two were about to leave. Suddenly, Zephyr and Elux's equipment sounded alarms. Not good, something's coming. Use Shadow Cloak immediately. Shadow Cloak was used to hide all of one's aura and traces. It was mainly used to prevent the dragon's perception. Because the dragon's perception was too sharp and powerful. There was almost no chance of winning in a head-on fight. In most cases, a Dragon Slayer's first attack would be a sneak attack. Therefore, Shadow Cloak was very important. Shadow Cloak not only hid one's aura, but also all of the user's perception. This was one of the flaws of the Shadow Cloak. Normally, when a Dragon Slayer fought an evil dragon, he would lie in ambush at a predetermined location. They had no way of knowing whether the evil dragon had arrived or not, so they had to wait for others to send a signal. There were only two of them at this moment, and they weren't prepared at all. Be it in terms of equipment or mentality, they were not prepared. There was absolutely no chance of winning against the evil dragon at this time. That was why Zephyr immediately gave the order to hide with Shadow Cloak. The moment they disappeared, Chen Zhao descended from the sky. Chen Zhao saw the huge claw mark. Without a doubt, this claw mark was left behind by the Dragon Clan. Chen Zhao couldn't tell if it was Saint N's claw mark. However, he naturally thought that the claw mark was left by Saint N. Am I too late? Chen Zhao's expression was ugly. There was some dragon aura left at the scene. That kind of powerful enemy would be a huge problem if they were allowed to live for another day. Therefore, Chen Zhao searched through the night. He wanted to find Xingyan as soon as possible and kill him. According to Peter's investigation, this mountain forest was a property under Saint Anne's name. Tonight, Qin Zhao had searched many of Saint Anne's properties. But he couldn't find any trace of Saint Anne. Qin Zhao would have to leave in a few days. If Saint Anne came back for revenge when he wasn't here, how would his family defend? Qin Zhao's bad mood was magnified again. Looking at the forest before him, Qin Zhao destroyed it wantonly. The huge shadow of a fist smashed down with the power of the world. The terrifying shockwave directly uprooted the ground and trees in the vicinity. After the attack, Qin Zhao finally controlled his emotions and flew away. This unknown territory was really troublesome. If he wasn't careful, he would be affected by it. Qin Zhao didn't realize that his attack just now had exposed two figures from the shadows. However, the terrifying impact still seriously injured Zephyra and Alux. Their minds were a bit dazed. They couldn't find the dragon anymore. That saved them from the disaster. However, this terrifying power still shocked them and even frightened them. This definitely wasn't Calamity Cui Xin. It was probably a higher-level dragon. They didn't understand why the dragon was so furious and destroyed this place like this. But they were sure that they would be in trouble if they had to face the dragon. Zephyra, how are you? Very bad. I broke a few ribs. Zephyra's body was still straight, but that was just on the surface. As a dragon slayer, she wouldn't show any weakness even when she was injured. Aman is nearby. I'll tell him to come and pick us up. There's no need. That dragon might not have gone far. We can't let Aman get involved. Inform our men to retreat. If we've been exposed, we can't let our other teammates get involved. But your injury, it's fine. I won't die, Zephyr said coldly. For the next 3 days, we must not have any physical contact with our teammates. Maybe the dragon is watching us in the dark, said Zephyr with a cold face. I understand. Zephyr's heart was heavy. The situation had become more and more complicated. The dragon definitely wasn't Calamity Cui Xin, but a higher-level dragon. And the dragon wasn't something their team could fight against. Of course, it wasn't all bad news. That dragon might not be an evil dragon, and it might not be their enemy. But now, she could only comfort herself like this. After all, they were facing an enemy that they couldn't defeat at all. Deep in the night, Portia was sleeping soundly when someone knocked on the door. In her pajamas, Portia opened the door in the dark. Just then, she saw Zephyra leaning against the door frame. She was covered in dirt. Her face and clothes were also covered in wounds and blood. Zephyra, what's wrong? I'm fine. Can you help me in? Zephyra asked weakly. She'd been holding on all the way. When they reached the door, she still revealed her weakest side. Chapter 1955. Portia hurriedly helped Refra back into the room. Bear with it. I'll call an ambulance. Don't call an ambulance. I'm fine, Refra said with difficulty. But you're hurt like this. Portia looked at Refra anxiously. I said I'm fine. Help me into my room. Portia helped Refra back into the room. Zevra said in a weak voice, There's a bottle in my desk drawer. Bring it to me. Portia opened the drawer. There was a bottle of white liquid inside. However, there was no brand on it. Portia didn't know what kind of medicine it was. Portia brought the bottle to Refra, hesitating whether to give it to her or not. Refra, are you sure the liquid in the bottle is drinkable? I think it's best to find a professional doctor. I know what I'm doing. Even in her weakest state, Refra was still very conscious. Portia handed the bottle to Refra. Refra opened the bottle and drank the white liquid in one gulp. The liquid in the bottle could only temporarily relieve her injuries. She had other medicines, but most of them could only be used when she was in real danger. She couldn't use them now. Portia was still worried. After a long hesitation, she said, Refra, our boss is a doctor. I'll ask him to take a look at your injuries. Don't worry, our boss won't tell anyone about your injuries. Refra also hesitated for a while, but she finally nodded. Portia immediately called Qin Zhao. Portia, give me a reason not to kill you. Qin Zhao's tone was rather nasty. Do you know what time it is? Boss? There's a problem at home. My roommate is hurt. Send her to the hospital if she's hurt. Why are you calling me? Aren't you an illegal doctor? I want to hire you now. Portia, do you know how much I get paid? How much? Including the price for disturbing my sleep, I'll give you a discount. $2 million. Portia's voice immediately became sharp and resounding. Are you crazy? How could anyone pay such a high price? You know that $2 million might not be enough to hire me. If I don't know you, you'll have to pay more. I don't have that much money. You can pay on credit. Write me an IOU. I have no money, Portia said angrily. All right then, I'm going to bed. Good night. Boss, I'm really in a hurry. We'll talk tomorrow. With that, he hung up. Portia angrily smashed the phone on the floor. Bastard, 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 this bastard. After venting her frustrations, Portia picked up her phone again. Good, I didn't break the phone. Portia looked at Zephyra apologetically. Zephyra, I'm sorry. That bastard refused to come. It's okay. Take a rest first. I'll call the boss in the morning, said Portia. All right. Portia looked at Zephyra. Zephyra didn't even close her eyes and just laid there weakly. Portia, take a nap. I'm not used to sleeping at a time like this. As a dragon slayer, Zephyra had been injured many times. Every time she was injured, she would stay awake the entire time. She would never allow herself to fall into a deep sleep. Portia couldn't understand. Why didn't she sleep with such a serious injury? Why didn't she call a doctor? Zephyra, who hurt you? Are you sure we don't need to call the police? I said it's okay. I fell and hurt myself, Zephyra said calmly. Fell and hurt? Portia looked at Zephyra. Zephyra, can't you be more careful with your lies? Portia couldn't feel the sincerity in Zephyra's lies at all. Zephyra just lay there in silence. Portia stayed up until dawn, helping to take care of Zephyra the whole time. Zephyra, I think I should raise the rent. Have you ever seen such a responsible roommate? You can go to sleep. I don't need your care. I really don't understand. Why don't you sleep? At least you'll feel better. Portia looked at Zephyra. Even she felt uncomfortable. If it were her, she wouldn't be able to sleep anymore. But Zephyra was so seriously injured, yet she didn't sleep. Portia dialed Chen Zhao's number again. Boss, if you don't come to treat my friend, I won't be able to go to work. Also, I won't be able to go next week. You're threatening me. I'm not threatening you. Portia's voice softened. I'm just telling you the truth. Just you wait. Chen Zhao was furious. It was already an hour later when Chen Zhao arrived at Portia's house. When he knocked on Portia's door, Portia started to complain. Boss, you're too slow. Who told you to live so far away? Who told you to pay me so little? I can only live so far away. Who told you not to be capable enough? If you were, I'd pay you more. Who told you to only give me so little work? I didn't even have the chance to show off. If you think the work is too little, I'll be happy to give you more work. Chen Zhao sneered at Portia. After entering Portia's house, Chen Zhao studied the place. Is this where you're renting? It looks nice. If she hadn't seen Chen Zhao's house, Portia would think that it was nice. But after seeing Mingyue Villa and Mirror Lake Villa, Portia felt that her house was shabby. Chen Zhao's words were even more hypocritical. Chen Zhao sniffed. What a heavy smell of blood. Is it your friend's blood? Yes, she vomited a few mouthfuls of blood last night. Portia glanced at Chen Zhao, complaining. She didn't sleep at all last night. Her eyes were wide open the whole time. I feel bad just looking at her. She's so injured and still won't sleep. I don't know what she's thinking. Why didn't you call an ambulance? Did you call the police? Chen Zhao asked. She won't let me. Won't let me? I don't know. Portia brought Chen Zhao into Zephyra's room. However, the room was empty. There was no one on the bed. Suddenly, Chen Zhao saw Zephyra hiding behind the door. Zephyra attacked him from behind. Without any hesitation, Chen Zhao threw Zephyra over his shoulder, throwing her heavily to the front. Chapter 1956. She smashed the table and fell to the ground, spitting out blood continuously. Boss, what are you doing? I asked you to heal Zevra, not to kill her. Chen Zhao just stood there. She attacked me first. Zevra kept vomiting blood, but her strong willpower was still supporting her. What are you doing, Riva? This is my boss. I asked her to treat you. Riva was a person's habit, even if it was someone Portia had called. She was also used to testing after subduing someone. She was even on guard against Portia. Even if she was injured, a normal person might not be her match. Moreover, she had deliberately planned a sneak attack. She had thought that it would be a sure thing. However, not only had Chen Zhao discovered her sneak attack, he had even counterattacked. This made her wonder if she was really too weak. She couldn't even beat a normal person. Chen Zhao stood there with his arms crossed. Do you still want treatment? If not, I'm leaving. Also, she doesn't look like she needs treatment. She can actually sneak attack me. Looks like she's quite lively. Boss, she keeps spitting out blood. She looks like she's about to die. Hurry and take a look at Riva. Are you sure she won't attack me again? I'm sure. I'm very sure. Are you right, Riva? Sorry, Riva snorted coldly. "'Kay, lie back on the bed. I'll take a look." With Portia's help, Riva lay back on the bed. Chen Zhao sat on the edge of the bed. Is it okay to take off your shirt? Yes. Riva nodded slightly. Even though she was in so much pain, she still controlled herself and maintained her rationality and vigilance. Chen Zhao pressed on Riva's chest. "For ribs are broken." Riva wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth. "You broke one. You're in good spirits. You still have the energy to argue with me. How did you get injured? Other than the injuries I caused." "I was injured," Riva said. "What do you do? Agent? Mercenary? Killer? Or an undercover police officer?" Zevra remained silent. Chen Zhao did not care if she answered his question or not. "Your second broken rib on the left pierced into your lung," Chen Zhao said. "If you're willing, I can do a small surgery for you now." "Sure." "This is an anesthetic." "I don't need anesthetics," Zevra said coldly. "Are you sure? This kind of pain is extraordinary. I will cut open the skin on your chest and use bioglue to repair your lungs." Zevra still had that cool expression on her face as she said, "No problem." "Zevra, you have to think this through. This is an operation. How can it be done without anesthetics?" Portia also tried to persuade her. "I said, no problem. You can do it. Let me make this clear. Although this is a minor surgery, in your condition, you might die from the pain. If you die, don't blame me." "I understand." Chen Zhao looked at Portia. "Are you sure it's okay? Let's do it." Since Zevra said so herself. Chen Zhao took out an alcohol bottle. After smearing it evenly on Zevra's chest, he took out a scalpel. Of course, before using the scalpel, Chen Zhao still had to stop the bleeding with acupuncture. He didn't want to make it too bloody. Also, Zevra's condition was not suitable for her to lose too much blood. But even so, the scene was inevitably covered in blood. After all, this wasn't an operating room. After ignoring the possibility of a fungal infection, there were still various flaws. Of course, the surgery itself was only a minor one. It was not difficult at all for Chen Zhao. Portia watched Chen Zhao's dazzling surgery process. It was her first time seeing Chen Zhao treat a patient. He was completely different from the stereotype in the past. In the past, Portia's impression of Chen Zhao was that he was undisciplined, frivolous, stingy, and a jerk. But now, Chen Zhao was unprecedentedly serious. Every movement was as smooth as flowing water. From cutting open the abdomen to stitching up the wound, the entire process only took 10 minutes. But for Portia and Zevra, it felt as long as a century. Chen Zhao looked at Zevra, who was still conscious. He was astonished by Zevra's tenacious willpower. He had never seen such a stubborn ordinary person, and a woman at that. The woman did not make a single sound during the operation. After all, Chen Zhao had made a hole in her chest just now. But even though she was trembling from the pain, she still maintained absolute silence. Even Chen Zhao himself could not do this. This made Chen Zhao more interested in Zevra. "It's done. Take an antibiotic every morning, afternoon, and night. The stitches will take 3 days to remove." Is Zephyr done? I've done everything I can. Chen Zhao took out a cigarette and turned to Portia. Do you have a fire? Okay. Portia nodded. Boss, there's a patient here, and this is my house. Also, when did you smoke? Chen Zhao did not smoke often, but he had been very focused just now. Now that he had relaxed, he needed a cigarette to relax. This was the so-called smoke after the fact. She's fine now. With my medical skills, she won't be unable to withstand even a second-hand smoke. Zephyr said weakly, give me one too. Chen Zhao casually tossed a cigarette to Zephyr. Portia was completely speechless at the two patients. How could a doctor and patient smoke at the same time? That was too irresponsible. Who did this to you? Chen Zhao asked curiously. I feel like you were hit by a car or something even stronger. A car crash, Riva answered and blew out a long smoke ring at the same time. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. He could tell that Zephyr was definitely not hit by a car. Chen Zhao said that her injuries looked like they were caused by a car, but there were other small injuries on her body. There were also the stains on her body, which seemed to be from rolling in the mountains. However, he would never have dreamed that Chen Zhao was the one who caused these injuries. Neither did Zephyr expect that Chen Zhao was the culprit behind her injuries. Boss, how many days does Zephyr need to recover? 3 days, Chen Zhao said. If she's completely healed, we'll see how strong she is. 3 days is enough? Zephyr's injury is so serious, and she even had a small surgery. Chapter 1957. She's much stronger than you, Chen Zhao said. Other than the injuries from last night, Zephyr also had many old injuries. These old injuries didn't make her weak. Instead, they made her stronger. She was like a strong tiger cub. Portia recalled how she couldn't lift the suitcase at all that day. Zephyr, on the other hand, could carry it with one hand. She seemed really strong. Zephyr, is there a little monster living in your body? So you're strong too. After all, I haven't been shoulder thrown in a long time. Zephyr looked at Chen Zhao. However, there was still some dissatisfaction in her tone. After all, she was heavily injured and couldn't even use 20% of her strength. Boss works out every day. Swimming, boxing, running. He's a fitness freak. Zephyr wasn't surprised. Chen Zhao was indeed very strong. Even though she was heavily injured, a normal person couldn't beat her. However, Chen Zhao could throw her over his shoulder when she tried to sneak up on him. After I recover, I'll compete with you again, Zephyr said, dissatisfied. Zephyr, you can't beat Boss. He can kill more than a dozen armed bandits by himself. Zephyr ignored Portia's advice. She muttered to herself that she could do it under normal circumstances too. Although the Dragon Slayers were determined, they more or less had some character flaws. For example, Zephyr had been treated as a genius or a monster among her peers since she was young. She'd also developed a proud and unyielding personality. In the past, all of her competitors had been defeated in front of her. Even those who were stronger and more outstanding than her couldn't escape the fate of failure. I'm hungry, Zephyr said. Zephyr, you just had surgery. You can't eat now, right? Portia looked at Chen Zhao. She can eat if she wants. It's fine as long as she doesn't eat stimulating food. Plus, she was injured in her lungs, not her stomach. Okay, I'll go get some food. Portia looked at Chen Zhao. Boss, do you want to eat something? Every day, you're the one who freeloads off me. This time, I'm going to freeload off you too. Boss, I don't have much food in the fridge. Portia knew how big Chen Zhao's appetite was. In her eyes, Chen Zhao was just a moving rice bucket. There was no limit to his appetite. Portia had no choice but to take out all the ingredients in the house. Moreover, she doubted that with so many ingredients, Chen Zhao wouldn't even be 30% full. Very doubtful. Although Chen Zhao had said that Refra would need 3 days to get out of bed, Refra still needed 3 days. However, Zephyr did not have that many scruples. Even though he was sweating profusely from the pain, he was still jumping around on the ground. At the dining table, he stuffed himself with food, especially after seeing how much Chen Zhao ate at the dining table. Zephyr actually had the idea of competing again. He didn't care if he could overeat right now. She learned how Chen Zhao ate. Chen Zhao finished the steak in 10 seconds. She also finished the steak in 10 seconds. Chen Zhao finished the salad in 10 seconds. She did the same. Portia didn't even have the chance to pick up her chopsticks. The two moving rice buckets devoured the food on the table at an astonishing speed. Zephyr soon realized that she really couldn't beat Chen Zhao. At least in terms of appetite, she lost completely. Chen Zhao glanced at Zephyr and swallowed the food in his mouth. You can't let yourself eat too much. He could roughly estimate how much Zephyr could eat. Zephyr's normal appetite was about the same as an adult man's. If she forced herself, she could at most eat the food of 2 men. She definitely couldn't eat any more. One had to know that one's stomach could really burst from overeating. Zephyr wiped her mouth unwillingly. I'm not in a good condition today. I usually eat more. Zephyr looked at Chen Zhao's astonishing appetite and eating speed. She actually knew that even in her best condition, she wouldn't be able to eat more than Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao had already eaten the food of 2 people. In less than 30 seconds, he completely devoured a roast chicken. Moreover, he still didn't plan on stopping. He was still devouring the food like a tornado. Can one's appetite also be trained? Zephyr asked. Portia felt that Chen Zhao had led Zephyr astray. She didn't expect Zephyr to be so competitive. She even wanted to compete with her appetite. The more you exercise, the more you eat, Chen Zhao said. Of course, after training, if your stomach gets used to expanding, it can expand by 10 times, but normal people don't recommend it. After all, it's not healthy. Zephyr only heard the first part. She didn't hear Chen Zhao's suggestion at all. This was Zephyr's personality. Even if it was a meaningless thing like appetite, she still wanted to be first. How do you usually train? Zephyr asked. If you're free in the morning, do 2 triathlons first and 3 at night to help digestion. Also, do some anaerobic exercise. Anaerobic exercise uses up the most stamina. I prefer diving without equipment, Zephyr said. How long can you dive for? Should surpass the world record. About half an hour, Chen Zhao said casually. Currently, the world record for diving without equipment was 20 minutes and 21 seconds. Portia stared at Chen Zhao in shock. She'd indeed seen Chen Zhao dive before. He often dove into the sea and then disappeared for a long time. Zephyr thought about it. Her diving ability was close to the world record. It seemed that she'd lost to Chen Zhao in diving again. Zephyr secretly encouraged herself. She had one more item to beat Chen Zhao. Zephyr pretended to be calm. Very good. What's the depth of your diving equipment? If you want to compete with me, it's meaningless, Chen Zhao said calmly. Chen Zhao's breathing system was basically non-human. It had also evolved and could absorb oxygen in water. He was an enhancer and his body was countless times stronger than normal people, so water pressure was also meaningless to him. He also had the ability to control water, so he could dive even the deepest trench in the world like it was flat ground. Even the Mariana Trench, a deep sea where even microorganisms couldn't survive, Chen Zhao could dive like it was flat ground. How much? Zephyr asked, unconvinced. Did you reach the world record? Zephyr thought about it and looked up at Chen Zhao. Did you surpass the world record? Chen Zhao nodded. A lot. Chapter 1958. Zephyr was very hurt. In terms of diving depth, she was still far from the world record. The duration of diving was related to the capacity of one's lungs, while the depth was related to one's physical strength. Of course, this did not mean that the world record holder was better than Zephyr. It also involved skills and endurance. That kind of world record was the result of countless attempts and the final result was obtained. Portia was not surprised at all. Anyway, she often saw Chen Zhao swim. There was no doubt about Chen Zhao's swimming ability. Moreover, Chen Zhao's entire family was astonishingly good at swimming, especially Jerlin and Feilai. Feilai was a member of the coastal rescue team. Plus, Chen Zhao's monstrous motor skills. Thus, Portia was not surprised by any of Chen Zhao's athletic abilities. Zephyr, I told you, don't think about beating boss in fitness and sports. He's really unbeatable in this aspect. I saw with my own eyes how he crushed those robbers who attacked him. Portia hated Chen Zhao to the core, but she trusted him completely in this aspect. She really did not think that there was anyone stronger than Chen Zhao in this world. However, she did not expect her words to ignite Zephyr's competitive spirit. I'm not in a good state right now, Zephyr said, unconvinced. When I recover, I can do it too. This meal is really uncomfortable. Chen Zhao picked up a tissue and wiped his mouth and hands. I don't feel anything at all. Portia's eyes were filled with resentment as she stared at Chen Zhao. Boss, this is half a month's worth of food. You ate half a month's worth of food. You ate quite a lot at my place too. What's wrong with just eating one meal from you? Also, it's so uncomfortable. You can't even stimulate my appetite. Chen Zhao stood up and said, I'm going back. Also, remember to come to work in the afternoon, or I'll deduct your salary. Boss, I still have to take care of Zephyr. I don't, Zephyr said indifferently. Zephyr, how can you be like this? You should say something for me. I'm telling the truth. I don't need your care. Boss, I'll go with you. I can even save my gas money. Then how will you come back? I won't lend you my car. I can pay for your car's gas, right? Said Portia. Are you sure? The fuel consumption of each of my cars is much higher than that of your own car. Chen Zhao had never considered the problem of fuel consumption. All the cars he chose were based on performance and comfort. Forget it, I'll just drive my own car. Portia looked as if she had nothing left to live for. Zephyr, be careful when I'm not around. Call me if you're in trouble. Chen Zhao and Portia had both left. Only Zephyr was left in the house. Zephyr took out her phone. Alux, it's me. Zephyr, how are you now? Your injuries seem to be very serious. It's all right. I've received professional treatment, Zephyr said. How's your injury? I'm fine. My luck is better than yours. It had to be said that Alux's luck was indeed better than Thera's. They were all using shadow cloaks and were standing together. But when they were hit, the damage was different. Of course, apart from luck, another important reason was that Alux was an enhancer. His constitution was much higher than Zephyr's. How is it? Did you find any useful information? I've investigated the situation of the Los Angeles area's supernatural world. There are 2 or 3 local supernatural organizations in Los Angeles, but they're all small fries that aren't worth mentioning. However, there's one thing that's very strange. The Los Angeles area's supernatural world seems to be very xenophobic. Other than these small fries, if there are any foreign spiritualists who are active here, they'll definitely be severely punished. Even if they don't do evil, they'll most likely be expelled. If they commit serious crimes here, they'll definitely disappear without a trace, Electrolux said. Who did it? I don't know who did it, but in any case, the supernatural world of Los Angeles is definitely not as simple as it looks on the surface. It's very likely that there's a hidden expert, and it might even be the work of the dragon race that hibernated here. It can't be the dragon race. Whether it's an ordinary dragon race or an evil dragon, they wouldn't care about the activities of a human shaman unless it involves their own interests, Zephyr speculated. What about the paranormal organization that you've investigated? Are they possible? One of them is an idol organization. They don't have any close organizations or activities. They usually conduct some small activities in the LC area, like a small competition or a meeting, Elux said. The other 2 organizations are related to the government. One of them has been established for more than 20 years, but it's very weak. It can't even deal with a small haunted community. The other organization has been established for a shorter period of time, and its strength is below average. The strongest one should be Brits, who's known as the Little Encyclopedia of Magic. He's quite famous in North America. I once met him during a supernatural event. His strength is also very average. These 3 organizations can basically be eliminated. Is there no more information? I've investigated a few spiritualists, but the strongest one is barely average. There's no one stronger than that. There aren't any spiritualists with extraordinary strength? No, but I've investigated the local spiritualists. They said that 2 years ago, someone in the LC area awakened the 3rd night. I just don't know what happened to the third night. Awakened the third night? If it's successful, then it should be very powerful, right? No one knows who awakened it. Until now, no one has heard of a particularly powerful spiritualist or a genius. Give up on this direction. Don't investigate in this direction anymore. We're looking for dragons, not spiritualists. Dragons don't need to awaken, Thera said. Other than that, there's no other information? There's still some immature information. We need to dig deeper. All right then. Continue investigating. If you find any clues, contact me immediately. Chapter 1959. Portia, did you lose him? Boss, you're driving a supercar, and I'm driving a second-hand car. Why do you think my car can keep up with yours? Portia asked, annoyed. I'm not driving very fast. I'm only driving 80 kilometers per hour. You should go first. It'll only take 10 minutes at most to reach Mingyue Villa. Chen Zhao hung up. He could already see Mingyue Villa. Portia wasn't driving very fast, but she wasn't falling behind by much. Portia's car had also reached the highway. Suddenly, the car in front slowed down. Portia couldn't turn in time and rear-ended the car in front. Portia immediately stopped the car. The car in front that was rear-ended also stopped. Portia was burning with anger, but when she saw that it was a woman who got out of the car in front, she calmed down a little. How did you drive? Portia asked the woman. The speed limit is at least 80 kilometers per hour. Why did you suddenly slow down? I'm sorry. I think there's something wrong with my car. The woman looked at Portia innocently. I'll take responsibility for this accident. Can you lend me your phone? I'll call the insurance company. Fine. The woman didn't argue and even admitted her mistake. Portia's anger also dissipated. She took out her phone and gave it to the woman. The phone lit up in the woman's hand for a moment, then dimmed again. Is the phone broken? The woman returned the phone to Portia. It really is broken. Strange. It was fine just now. Why did it suddenly break? She had just spoken to Chen Zhao on the phone. Why did it suddenly break? Portia wondered if she didn't pay attention to the battery just now and it ran out of battery. Where's your phone? Portia asked. The woman took out her phone. The screen was already cracked. Clearly, it couldn't be used anymore. When I rear-ended the car, it fell to the ground and I accidentally stepped on it. I see. Then let's go to my boss's house and borrow his phone, Portia said. Your boss? Is it far from here? No. See that house on the cliff? It's there. What a big house. Your boss must be rich, right? Of course, only rich people can hire me. Portia rolled her eyes. Get in my car. In the car, Portia looked at the woman beside her again. The woman was very tall, about 1.85 meters. She was also very beautiful, and her clothes were very tasteful. She looked like a model. What's your name? Chui Xin. Portia brought Chui Xin into the Bright Moon Villa. By now, Chen Zhao had already changed into a t-shirt and boxers. He was lying on the living room sofa, playing with his phone. Chen Zhao's children were running and playing in the living room. Among so many children, only Didi La was reading quietly. Even little Larissa was busy climbing up and down the princess's body with Briar, Bramble, Simba, and Nana. The princess's mountain-like body was enough for the 5 of them to move around. Just then, Portia walked into the living room with Trish. Chen Zhao put down his phone and looked up at the 2 girls. Portia, who is she? Chen Zhao was very curious. Portia was right behind him. How could she bring a woman back so quickly? Boss, I rear-ended her car. My phone is out of battery, and her phone is broken too. She's here to call the insurance company and then leave. Chen Zhao stared at Chui Xin, whose expression was a bit stiff. Sir, is there something on my face? Drizzt had to be nervous, because there was a dragon's head in the yard. Even the most arrogant dragon slayer wouldn't dare to treat a dragon's head like a decoration. But this guy had actually placed a dragon's head in the yard so openly. Regardless of whether this man was too arrogant or he really had the ability, Chui Xin's hair stood on end. At least it meant that Saint and didn't lie to her. This man really had the ability to make one's hair stand on end. Chen Zhao stared straight at Cui Xin. Boss, don't you know that it's very rude to look at a woman like that? I'll let it go this time. Don't bring strangers to my house next time. Chen Zhao looked away. He didn't find anything strange about Cui Xin. Cui Xin secretly heaved a sigh of relief, somewhat regretting her rashness. She'd originally thought that sneaking in to find out Chen Zhao's strength would be a piece of cake. But when she faced Chen Zhao, she realized how much pressure he gave her. Even though Chen Zhao had looked away, he still used his small world to monitor Cui Xin from all directions. Because of this, Cui Xin felt like her hair stood on end. They both had their own small worlds, but their abilities were very different. Cui Xin didn't even dare to move. She was sure that if she moved even a little, this human man would kill her directly. This human man would directly kill her, pull out her tendons and peel off her skin. He would also place her head in the yard like a trophy. She even had to control her heartbeat so that it wouldn't beat too fast. After a while, Cui Xin finished her call and Portia saw her off. Cui Xin didn't even say goodbye to Chen Zhao. She hurriedly left Mingyue Villa. Chen Zhao suddenly jumped up from the sofa. There was something wrong with that woman. The ring that the woman was wearing was different from the one he was wearing. But it was definitely the same as his magic ring. It was used to suppress aura. Chen Zhao hurried to the entrance of Mingyue Villa and saw Portia return. Boss, why did you come out? Where's that woman? She left. What do you want to do to her? Boss, you already have a child with Miss Fei Lai. You better control yourself. What nonsense. Chen Zhao's expression darkened. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to catch up to that woman. Don't bring strangers to Mingyue Villa in the future, Chen Zhao said. Portia pouted. Boss, didn't I stop you from making mistakes? Do you have to be so stingy? That woman isn't a good person. You don't look like a good person either, Portia said bluntly. Let me have a look at your phone. What's wrong with my phone? Portia handed it to Chen Zhao. When Chen Zhao took the phone, he indeed felt a magical aura from it. But as he took the phone, the magical aura was dispelled. He turned it on again and the phone lit up again. That woman tampered with your phone. She purposely entered Mingyue Villa. Chapter 1960. Portia was stunned. She still didn't really believe him. But the phone in Chen Zhao's hand did light up. You said she did something to my phone. How did she stop my phone from turning on? You won't understand such high-tech work, Chen Zhao said in disdain. Portia didn't believe that Chen Zhao was talking about advanced technology. Chen Zhao's understanding of the high-tech appliances and equipment in the house was even lower than Portia's. How could Portia believe that Chen Zhao knew more about technology than her? Boss, is there really a problem with that woman? Chen Zhao nodded. Then what does she want to do? Sneak into Mingyue Villa to set off a bomb? I don't know, Chen Zhao said. They're probably here to ask about my family. Chen Zhao's head hurt. These were troubled times. All sorts of people had popped up. Furthermore, he was too careless. Even if he didn't notice that woman's mistake earlier, he wouldn't be able to do so. Just from the coincidence of her rear-ending Portia, he should have guessed that there was something wrong with her. The Empress Dowager herself was slow to realize it. Chen Zhao was annoyed. Next time, he would definitely not be careless. As long as there was the slightest bit of doubt, he would make his move. Why did he care so much? He was not a good person. Anyway, this time, Chen Zhao was sure that this person was a bad guy. Sheng En was currently soaking in a container. However, after Cui Xin returned, Sheng En opened his eyes. Although Saint En accepted Trish's help. However, this did not mean that he trusted Cui Xin. Even if Cui Xin was his sister. Sheng En was always on guard against Cui Xin. Although they were separated by the container, Sheng En could still see Cui Xin's expression. You seem to have run into something bad. Let me guess what it is. Sheng En spoke from within the container. But the strange thing was that he could actually speak in the liquid. You disguised yourself as an ordinary person and snuck into that human's house and were almost discovered, right? Sheng En knew Cui Siue too well. Whether it was from the perspective of human morality or from the perspective of the dragon race, she was an extremely evil dragon. Try Silly sat in a chair in front of Saint Anne's container, her chest heaving. Do you think my experience can make you happy? So, what did you gain from this infiltration? I discovered that the human is indeed very powerful, but he is not completely invulnerable. What weakness could he possibly have? He didn't discover any weaknesses, but he made a fatal mistake. What mistake? He said that a dragon's head was placed in his courtyard, Chui Xin said. King and furrowed his brows at first, then a look of surprise appeared on his face. This time, you don't need to take out your wealth. Maybe there's a way for our people to participate. Placing a dragon's head in the courtyard as a decoration was already a huge taboo for the dragon race. Sheng An continued to stare coldly at Chui Xin. Why are you helping me? If you want my treasure, then don't even think about it. I won't give you my treasure, not even a single silver coin. Chui Silly smiled as she looked at Saint Anne in the container. This isn't the best place to hide. You're heavily injured, yet you still want to hide here. This means that this place is very important to you. You hid your treasures here, right? Chui Xin sneered. Sheng An, who was in the container, suddenly became agitated, and panic appeared in his eyes. It seems that I guessed correctly. The treasures are here. If you dare take even a single silver coin from me, I'll kill you, Sheng An growled as he stared at Chui Xin. I don't want your treasures. I only want one thing. Chui Xin stared at Sheng An. If you don't agree, then I'll take all of your treasures. What thing? Sheng An looked at Chui Xin angrily. The caltrop all, Chui Xin said. I don't have that thing, Sheng An denied without even thinking. Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. If you give me the caltrop all, not only will I not touch your treasures, I'll even give you information about the treasure island. I've been to the treasure island before, so I know its location. Chui Xin's words were extremely bewitching. That place is filled with endless treasures. Don't you want any of them? Sheng An was silent for a moment, then said, I really don't know what the caltrop all is. Maybe you really don't know what the caltrop all is. Maybe it's hidden in your treasures, Chui Xin said. At the same time, Chui Xin took out a drawing that she had just drawn. This is the shape of the caltrop all. Sheng An narrowed his eyes. Originally, he really didn't know what the caltrop all was. However, after seeing the drawing of the caltrop all, he immediately remembered. The caltrop all was indeed in his hands, but it wasn't piled up among his treasures. The dragon clan had a habit of splitting their treasures in half. This was to avoid any mishaps from happening, so that their treasures wouldn't be taken away at once. Sheng An also had this habit. You don't have to deny it. This caltrop all was obtained 200 years ago when you slaughtered a Native American tribe, Chui Xin said. So what? Maybe I've already thrown it away. After all, I'm only interested in shiny and valuable things. You definitely still have it. Chui Xin said with certainty. The caltrop all has some kind of mysterious power. You won't be mistaken. Even if you can't tell what the caltrop all is for, you won't throw it away easily. Just like how Sheng An understood Chui Xin also understood Sheng An. Sheng An finally laughed. He finally felt that he had the right to speak. What's the caltrop all for? Sheng An was indeed as Chui Xin had thought. Although he didn't know what the caltrop all was for, he could still feel the power it contained, so he still kept it. With his vision and experience, he had experienced this many times. Something that seemed useless at first would eventually be found to have great value or use. Now that Chui Xin was so eager to obtain the caltrop all, it meant that the caltrop all was indeed very useful or valuable. Otherwise, Chui Xin wouldn't be unmoved by the treasures she had hidden in the manor. Chui Xin was also a dragon, and her greed for treasures was deeply imprinted in her blood. It was impossible for her not to be moved, unless her desire for the caltrop all was greater than the treasures. That's my question. You just have to answer me. Do you accept this deal? Chui Xin said coldly. Before I figure out what the caltrop all is for, I won't accept this deal. Chapter 1961. Chui Xin cursed. That's a part of the artifact created by the Mayan civilization, Chui Xin said. Artifact? Sheng An couldn't help but look greedy. Think about it. Do you want to use this divine artifacts component to exchange for information about the treasure island, or do you want to say that you won't get anything? Not only will I kill you, but I'll also take away the treasures you've hidden here. As for your secret treasure, I'll definitely find it. When that time comes, you'll have nothing left, Cui Xin said. You only told me information that I don't know is true or false, and you want to exchange it for an artifact? You're too greedy. You're the one with a big appetite. It's just a fragment of a god artifact, not a god artifact. Think about it, the treasures on the island. Even if you recover your true form, you can still sleep on the treasures. How wonderful would that be? Shengyan couldn't help but lick his lips. He couldn't hide the greed in his eyes. What the dragon race pursued in their lives was nothing more than treasures. Since the prismatic all is a part of the artifact, does that mean that you also have a part? Shengyan asked. Cui Xin's expression grew colder. Shengyan didn't hide his greed at all. What? You want to take the part of the artifact from me? Cui Xin was also wary of Shengyan. Let's think about how to deal with the Dragon Slayer, Shengyan said. To deal with the Dragon Slayer, we first have to prepare a battlefield. We can use the information that the Dragon Slayer accidentally entered the dragon race to attract the dragon race, but most of the dragon race are old-fashioned. They won't show themselves directly, and they won't fight in human cities or nearby areas. So, we have to choose a battlefield for them, Cui Xin said. Humans and the dragon race had always maintained contact. To a certain extent, they were considered relatively stable allies. Neither would initiate a war against the other. In fact, even the lawless Cui Xin didn't dare to show herself in broad daylight, because the consequences of doing so would be very serious. By then, it wouldn't just be the Dragon Slayer hunting her. Even the dragon race would hunt her down, because she broke the agreement between humans and the dragon race. Initially, the Dragon Clan had not supported her misdeeds in the spirit world, nor had they interfered or objected to her actions. However, this didn't mean that she could do whatever she wanted. After all, there were many dragons that were more powerful than her in the Dragon Clan. Then what are your plans? Find a remote place and open up an alternate dimension as the battlefield. Then lure the Dragon Slayer inside. When the time comes, he won't be able to escape, Cui Xin said. That's a good idea. Shengyan said, however, that Dragon Slayer is not weak. With our levels, I'm afraid we'll need at least a lot of people of the same level to kill him. I know that there are 2 radical dragon fathers in the Dragon Clan. These 2 dragon fathers are husband and wife. They despise humans very much and always believe that humans should be the slaves of the Dragon Clan. I have the same idea as you. Although Shengyan was full of pride towards humans, he had been in human society for a long time. He knew that this was no longer the era of the dragon race. Although the dragon race was powerful, the humans had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. Moreover, they also had powerful weapons that even the dragon race had to retreat from. Of course, if an all-out war really broke out between the humans and the dragon race would definitely lose, but the humans wouldn't have it any better. It was more likely that both sides would suffer and the entire ecology of the Earth would be destroyed. This was just like the International Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Humans and the dragon race also relied on their own strength to achieve a balance. It had to be said that this was a mockery of reality. Cui Xin sneered, I'm not like the 2 of them. Although I'm wanted by the spirit world, I still have freedom of movement. However, the 2 of them are banned by human countries. They forbid them from entering their country's territory. Otherwise, they'll be killed. Which human country would dare to impose such a ban on 2 dragon fathers? The East, Huaxia. Cui Xin said gloatingly. Shengyan frowned. He had been to the East. However, he went as a human. But the moment he stepped into Huaxia's territory, he was already targeted. He felt that if he dared to do anything wrong, there would definitely be thousands of troops and horses tearing him apart. During that trip, Shengyan came and left in a hurry. Since then, Shengyan had never set foot in Huaxia again. He still felt at ease in America. No one could restrict him here. In the past 400 years, he had been accused and imprisoned by humans. Then he calmly left the prison. Moreover, magic was barren here. Even if spiritualists discovered his identity, they couldn't do anything to him. He could easily destroy those spiritualists who tried to go against him. What about the 2 Dragon Father level dragons? Where are they now? They hate humans very much. It seems that they suffered a great loss in Huaxia. In the past 20 years, they've been hiding on Dragon Island to recuperate. Will they make a move this time? Xingyan asked. They will. As long as the news reaches the 2 Dragon Fathers, they and their children will be very happy to use this method to announce their return. Their children? How many? Their way of thinking is extreme among the dragon race. Their fertility is also extreme. In the past 2,000 years, they gave birth to a total of 12 children. They also raised their children to have extreme thinking. Dragons were a very strange race. Their fertility was very weak. But they could give birth to children with almost all races. It was normal for a dragon race couple to give birth to 1 or 2 children in their lifetime. Giving birth to more than 2 children was really a blessing from the dragon god. If they could give birth to 12 children, then they would really be blessed. Xingyan was a little dumbfounded. Dragons could give birth to 12 children. How strong was their fertility to be able to do that? I heard that they have their own secret. Many dragon race have asked them for advice. They've also gained a lot from it. Xingyan's eyes lit up. This was a cost-free trade. If he could get the secret, other dragon race would definitely spend a lot of money to buy it. But the Dragon Fathers were destined to be impossible for him to get his hands on. What was a Dragon Father? It was a dragon race of a higher level than them. Either they were talented and relied on their own efforts to break through to the Dragon Father level, or they automatically advanced to the Dragon Father level when they reached 2,000 years old. What are their names? Tugu and Melita. Chapter 1962. Zephyra, are you sure you don't want to rest? Zephyra saw Portia dragging her tired body back, and she didn't look too good. Portia, what's wrong? You don't look too good. I was scolded by my boss. Why? Did you do something wrong? No, I think he's just looking for trouble. Why is he looking for trouble? Portia told her what happened at noon. Tell me, how can that woman be a bad person? Zephyra thought for a moment and said, that woman is really not a good person. You were tricked. What? How is that possible? She suddenly stopped on the highway and you rear-ended her. It can be said to be a coincidence, but her phone happened to be broken, and your phone happened to be broken as well. Afterward, your boss proved that your phone was tampered with. This means that there's really something wrong with that woman, and you were tricked. Really? Portia was a little stunned. Zephyra nodded. Yes, your boss didn't frame you. Although you are innocent, you did cause trouble for your boss. Hearing Zephyra's words, Portia became even more depressed. Did that woman go to your boss's house just to make a phone call? Seems like it. Portia nodded. She didn't do anything else? Boss seemed to have noticed something wrong with her at first glance. That woman stayed at his house for a few minutes, and I could see that she was very nervous. Zephyra glanced at Portia. When you noticed that woman was nervous, you should have noticed that something was wrong. Forget it, if you noticed it, it would be more dangerous. Am I useless? You can't say that. After all, this matter was caused by your boss. It has nothing to do with you, and you are also innocent. I feel much better if you say that. Portia looked at Zephyra. Are you sure you don't want to sleep? You haven't slept for a whole night. I've experienced even longer sleepless nights. Zephyra, what do you do? Are you really like what boss said, a killer or a secret agent? Don't ask, it won't do you any good, Zephyra said calmly. What's so great about it? I've been in contact with it before. I often encounter this kind of thing when I'm with our boss. Does this often happen around your boss? How should I put this? I've been working for the boss for more than 2 months, and I've already encountered similar situations 3 or 4 times. It seems that your boss is also very tired. Riva smiled. I also find it strange. Boss's business seems to be quite proper. Why does this kind of thing always happen? What business does your boss do? Producing and selling beer. Portia said, our boss is a major shareholder of Dashin Beer, which is very popular on the market now. Portia only found out about this recently. Gaia had told her before that Qin Zhao's business was in the beverage industry. However, Portia didn't expect it to be Dashin beer. Only when she received Citibank's financial report did she realize how rich Qin Zhao was. He had such a huge amount of assets and an astonishing income. She didn't think that Qin Zhao needed to be involved in any illegal businesses. Qin Zhao was really rich. He could even negotiate with the banks with his current savings. He could ask the bank to give him a higher interest rate. After all, the bank would earn a lot if the money was kept in the bank. The bank could use the money to invest and obtain more benefits. Not to mention some high-risk investments, even buying a high-security fund would earn more than the bank's interest. In America, there were two types of customers that banks liked the most. One was the high-spending type. They had a lot of credit cards in the bank and had a lot of spending each month. At the same time, they could pay back the debt steadily. The other type was like Qin Zhao, who had an astronomical amount of cash in the bank. After all, a normal person who deposited a few $1,000s in the bank would be treated like a king. Moreover, Qin Zhao had hundreds of millions of dollars. Moreover, Qin Zhao's spending power was also astonishing. The credit card that Citibank gave Qin Zhao was also of the highest level, the legendary black card. It was said that the bank could satisfy all the requests of black card customers, even if the request was unreasonable. In reality, it wasn't that amazing. At most, it could satisfy some reasonable requests. If Qin Zhao wanted to open a secondary card, he didn't even need to go to the bank. Andrews would bring the card to Qin Zhao personally. If the bank didn't give him a higher interest rate, Qin Zhao could just say something and change to a different bank. Andrews would probably lose his job. So, in Portia's eyes, Qin Zhao's wealth meant that he didn't need to do any illegal business. Unless Qin Zhao sold nuclear warheads, he wouldn't be able to earn more than he did now. Even those rich people on the Forbes list might have more assets than Qin Zhao. But in terms of earning money, Qin Zhao might not be slower than them. In fact, he might even be faster. When Portia first talked about Qin Zhao, she didn't have a good impression of him. It was mainly because Portia didn't have a good word to say about him. But after interacting with him, she realized that Qin Zhao wasn't that bad. At least, if he was a gang leader, Portia wouldn't just be scolded for making such a mistake. Maybe Portia would just disappear from the world. He wouldn't let Portia have time to complain. This meant that Qin Zhao treated Portia well. At least, it meant that Qin Zhao had a bottom line. She knew very well how easy it was for a rich and powerful person to make an ordinary person disappear from the world. Fortunately, Portia had met Qin Zhao. If it was another boss, she would have died countless times. Just then, Zephyr's phone rang again. "Portia, prepare dinner tonight." With that, Zephyr went to answer the call. Zephyr returned to the house and looked outside to make sure that Portia wasn't eavesdropping on her call. "I'm Zephyr. What's the news?" "Zephyr, we might be in big trouble. Today, there were alarms at LAX and LAX train station." "Alarms? 2 alarms?" "Yes, and it's not a departure alarm. Dragons have entered LAX twice. That means that 2 more dragons have come to LAX. Chapter 1963. A skinny old man strolled out of the airport. Beside the old man was a woman who was supporting him. "Melita, how many of our children are here?" "2 are here," the woman said. "Bunker and Ingley. They're already in North America, unlike us 2 old men who came all the way here." "Human aircraft are so uncomfortable," Tugu said. Tugu said, "Locked in that narrow iron shell, I wish I could tear that iron shell apart." "You're still so hot-tempered." Melita had a faint smile on her face. "The thing is, if you do this, the risk is too great. Even the Dragon Clan won't let us go. In my opinion, we should just poison the pilot. That way, there won't be any risk. Your poison is too recognizable." "Not good," Tugu said. When the 2 dragons walked out of the airport, Tugu suddenly looked at a corner. "That seems to be a magical device set up by the Dragon Slayer to target us dragons. Are there those annoying bugs in the city too?" Tugu's face was full of disgust. "Remember what that little girl called Chui Xin said? Our goal this time is to deal with the Dragon Slayer. So, it's normal to see this kind of magical device in a place like this. Melita looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. What an annoying domain. This must be Chui Xin's domain. I like that little girl very much. I admire her style of doing things. Melita looked at the corner of her eye again. There's a little bug. Tugu, do you want to catch him for fun? No need, just let him follow us. What's the point of a little bug? Let him inform his companions so that more bugs will be attracted. That way, it'll be more interesting. Mr. Tugu, Lady Melita, over here. Tugu and Melita saw Chui Xin waving from afar. Chui Xin, you're stronger than 20 years ago. I have high hopes for you. Tugu smiled faintly. Thank you for your compliment, Mr. Tugu. Please get in. Do I have to be stuffed into this tiny metal shell again? Mr. Tugu, there's no other way. This is a human city after all. But don't worry, when we arrive, you can return to your true form. Have Bunker and Ingli met up with you? Yes, Lady Melita. Let's go and see our children. I haven't seen them for a long time. Tugu and Melita followed Chui Xian to St. Anne's Manor. On the way, Chui Xin asked as she drove, "May I ask if any of your children are coming?" Of course, all of my children will come. After all, apart from Bunker and Ingli, the other children have been confined to Dragon Island for more than 20 years. They have been bored to death. This time, we finally let them out. How could they not follow us? However, the human aircraft is really too troublesome, so I let them follow behind. They will all come today or tomorrow. That's good. Is the Dragon Slayer you mentioned really that powerful? Are the two of us not enough to deal with it? Of course the two of you are enough, but I'm worried that the Dragon Slayer will escape if he can't beat us. That guy seems to be very good at speed, so I think we need to form a tight encirclement. If we let him escape, it will be extremely difficult to catch him next time. You're right. A human who dares to insult and provoke the dragons must die. When the car drove to the suburbs, a huge body suddenly shrouded the sky above the car. Bunker, he seems to have lost weight. The dragon called Bunker lowered his head and looked at Chui Xin, Tugu, and Melita in the car. Then, Bunker's huge claws lifted the roof of the car. Father, Mother, you're here? Melita flew up and patted Bunker's huge head. Bunker, my child. Chui Xin brought Tugu, Melita, and Bunker back to St. Anne's Manor. When Tugu and Melita saw St. Anne soaking in the container, they were stunned at first. He is my brother, St. Anne. He was injured by that Dragon Slayer. Melita moved closer to the container. St. Anne also opened his eyes and looked at Melita outside the container. Suddenly, Melita reached out and smashed the container. Chui Xin was shocked. Lady Melita, what are you doing? Melita grabbed St. Anne's neck. St. Anne tried to struggle, but he couldn't break free from Melita's palm at all. But soon St. Anne stopped struggling, because he realized that Melita didn't want to hurt him. The injuries on his body were healing at an astonishing speed. This is... Chui Xin looked at St. Anne in shock. Melita is a 5-colored dragon. She has 5 types of magic power, one of which is the power of holy light, Tugu said. Won't that consume too much? I won't even need a day to fully recover from such a small amount of consumption. Dragons didn't only have specific attributes. They had all kinds of strange attributes. Only humans had this kind of diversity. Other species rarely had this kind of diversity. Soon, Melita let go and St. Anne fell back to the ground. St. Anne checked his body and found that it was completely healed. Based on his previous injuries, it would take at least a few years for him to barely recover. But now, Melita had healed him in the blink of an eye. St. Anne's face was full of shock. Was this the power of a dragon father? Much stronger than him and Chui Xin. Just this healing spell alone wasn't something they could compare to. Thank you, Lady Melita. St. Anne bowed respectfully. Where's Ingli? Why don't I see him? Mother, I'm here. Just then, a figure appeared out of thin air. Melita and Tugu looked at Ingli. Ingli, your invisibility has improved again. We can't even detect you. That's because Father and Mother didn't detect me on purpose. Otherwise, my little magic wouldn't be able to hide from them. Mother, father, where are our brothers and sisters? Didn't they come? Of course they came, but they'll be here later. Great, we can make a scene, Bunker shouted excitedly. Saint Anne's expression darkened. Was it really a good idea to call these violent people here? They wouldn't continue to make a scene after killing the Dragon Slayer. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to escape. He would also be labeled as an evil dragon. That would be troublesome. Chapter 1964. Tu Gu, Melita, their children, and Chui Xing. They were all lawless, evil dragons. At the same time, they were synonymous with trouble. Sheng Yin only wanted to accumulate wealth in peace. He did not want to cause trouble with these bastards. But now, he had nowhere to run. If he said that he wanted to back out now, these bastards would tear him apart. And that human would not let him go either. He could only pray that after they killed that human, they would leave Los Angeles obediently. As more and more of his brethren arrived, Sheng Yin felt even more hopeless. Because every single one of his brethren was so manic and restless. It was as if only destruction could satisfy their desires. The news from Zephyr became more and more serious. It was very serious. Since evening, there had been continuous alarms. And so far, it had been confirmed that all of them were evil dragons. This gave Zephyr and the Dragon Slayer team reason to believe that these evil dragons were definitely preparing some kind of conspiracy. Otherwise, it would not be so coincidental for so many evil dragons to appear in the same city at the same time. Zephyr, Zack has already followed them to the outskirts of a forest. Because the road is too secluded and there are no other cars along the way, he did not dare to follow them in fear of being discovered. I understand. Tell Zack that you did well, Zephyr said solemnly. After a while, Zephyr asked again, how many known evil dragons are in this city now? 7, including Chui Xing, Ilux said. In addition, there are 2 more evil dragons that are even more famous than Chui Xing. They committed crimes in Huaxia and escaped alive. Zephyr had never felt so lost and powerless before. It was already very difficult for the Dragon Slayer team to deal with one evil dragon. But now, they had to face a few evil dragons. And among them, there were even high-level dragons. This was almost an impossible mission. Unless Zephyr ignored the news of the evil dragons gathering. She waited until they scattered. But her strong sense of responsibility made it impossible for her to stay out of it. Send the news to headquarters, Zephyr said. At the same time, she added, help me prepare some equipment. Zephyr, what do you want to do? I need to figure out what they want. Maybe their purpose is to target the Dragon Slayer. I can't let that happen. I need to find out what they are trying to do, said Zephyr. Zephyr, you're crazy. Do you know what you're doing? You're committing suicide. I'll be careful. As long as I have the equipment, they won't be able to find me. I'm not going to risk my life to fight them, Zephyr said. But you are still injured, and your injuries are not light. I'm fine now. I also brought a lot of medicine with me. If necessary, they can still help. Knock. Just then there was a knock on the bedroom door. She immediately hung up the phone. Portia? Portia pushed the door open and came in. Looking at her expression, it was obvious that she had been sleeping soundly when she suddenly woke up. Portia, what are you doing? Zephyr, you haven't slept all night. Have you been on the phone all night? Sorry, did I disturb you? No, I'm just worried about you. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. Zephyr would never have dreamed that the culprit of all this was Portia. Go to sleep, or else your boss will scold you again tomorrow. Zephyr had a good impression of Qin Zhao and Portia. To her, they were the kind of people who would slander each other but protect each other. Okay, if you're tired, go rest. You haven't slept for 2 days. It hasn't even been 2 days. But go and rest. Portia went back to her room in a daze. Zephyr was so anxious that her head was spinning. To her, the pressure was too great. In the morning, Zephyr received another piece of bad news. The Dragon Slayer headquarters could not send any reinforcements, at least not in the short term. The reason was that they didn't have enough manpower. In fact, They were also worried that this might be a plot by the evil dragons against them. Moreover, with a few evil dragons gathered together, the difficulty of slaying them would increase exponentially. Unless the Dragon Slayer headquarters used all their resources, it would be impossible for them to succeed. However, the headquarters did not provide any reinforcements. They still had to ask Zafra to find out what the evil dragons were up to. To put it bluntly, the headquarters had already abandoned Zafra and her team. But this was understandable. At least, Zafra felt that she would make the same decision if she were in their shoes. Moreover, she had planned to take the risk alone to find out the evil dragon's plot. Zafra made some preparations. After packing some things, she planned to go out. Cough, cough. Zafra, are you going out again? You haven't recovered yet. Portia walked out. She seemed to be in a bad state. Portia, you don't look well. Zafra went up and touched Portia's forehead. You have a fever. You need to rest. Portia rubbed her forehead. You're fine even with such a heavy injury. I'm even better. That's different. Zafra was speechless at Portia's words. Portia could not be compared to her at all. Putting aside her physiological characteristics, Zafra was about to deviate from human characteristics in terms of physiological reactions. On the other hand, Portia was just an ordinary person, so there was no comparison at all. Zafra helped Portia back to her room. Portia was still mumbling to herself, I'm really fine. Zafra found some medicine for the fever and poured Portia a glass of water. Take the medicine and rest. After taking the medicine, Portia fell asleep right away. Fever medicine usually contained calming and hypnotic ingredients. That was why Portia fell asleep so quickly. Zafra picked up Portia's phone. She planned to call Chen Zhao and ask for leave for Portia. But Portia had set a password. Zafra tried and could not unlock the phone. Forget it. Zafra glanced at Portia, who was already sound asleep. She did not want to disturb her. She would explain it to Chen Zhao for Portia later. Chen Zhao was not an unreasonable person, so he probably would not make things difficult for Portia. Zafra checked Portia's condition again. After making sure that Portia did not need to call an ambulance, she turned and left. She still had things to do. She needed to get some equipment from Immerse first and then go to the place where the evil dragons gathered. However, Zafra was not very confident about this trip. In fact, she had no confidence at all. This trip would probably be disastrous. Chapter 1965. Zafra found Immerse. She also found a few of her team members. Zafra, are you sure you want to go alone? There's no difference, Zafra said calmly. It's more convenient for me to go alone. She knew very well that this operation was too risky. It was no different from suicide. One more person was just one more person dying. It was meaningless. She might as well go alone. How long will it take? It should be done before sunset, Immerse said. That's good. It's safer at night. Zafra nodded. Zafra took out her phone. It was Portia's phone. She'd brought it with her. She thought that if Chen Zhao called, she could tell him immediately and ask for sick leave for Portia. There's no signal here? We blocked the signal, Immerse said. Zafra thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, it's safer this way. Zafra's team members busied themselves for the whole day. They finally finished the equipment and instruments before the sky turned dark. Zafra, this shadow cloak has been strengthened, Immerse said. It weakens the defense, but greatly increases the concealment. To be honest, with the shadow cloak's defense, it wouldn't make a difference against a few evil dragons. Rather than that, it was better to sacrifice the defense and increase the concealment. Yes. But it can only be used for 1 hour instead of 3, so you can't use it continuously. It's best to use it at a critical moment. I understand. And this dragon-slaying weapon. Immerse handed Zafra a full metal gauntlet. The head of the gauntlet was a dragon head with an open mouth. Zafra put on the metal gauntlet and felt the weight of the gauntlet. A full-powered attack from this dragon-slaying weapon is equivalent to an adult dragon's attack, but it can only be used once. And this is a magic crystal. It can be used as mana for the shadow cloak. This potion can forcibly suppress injuries. It can completely suppress injuries in a short period of time. It can also recover your mana. Each potion was placed in a simple syringe. Remember, the green is for suppressing injuries, the blue is for mana recovery, and the red is for Berserk Potion. I understand. In addition to these, they also prepared some small props for Zephyra. These tools all had their own uses. They could all play a role at the crucial moment. There's no signal again. What's Portia doing? Chen Zhao tossed his phone aside, frustrated. Portia was absent from work for no reason, and he didn't give him any explanation or ask for leave. This made Chen Zhao furious. Moreover, Chen Zhao had called a few times today, but there was no signal in all of them. Don't tell me he owes me money? If it's her, it's really possible. I'll see how you explain tomorrow, Chen Zhao muttered to himself. Raising the child alone, Chen Zhao deeply understood Portia's pain. In the past, he didn't find it so troublesome. But ever since Portia had shared the burden, Portia had suddenly disappeared. Chen Zhao deeply understood how important Portia was to him. Chen Zhao walked out of the house. The sea breeze blew against his face. There was even a hint of coldness in his voice. Although the temperature in Los Angeles wasn't that high all year round. However, it was already November. Therefore, the temperature dropped significantly. Moreover, it had been cloudy for many days, so the temperature dropped even more. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. It was Zhang Tianyi. Hey, old Zhang. How've you been recently? Terrible. Why are you suddenly concerned about my health? LA's been cloudy these days, right? Does it have anything to do with that? Chen Zhao asked. That was done by Cui Xin, ranked 5th in the 10 evils. She's a dragon, an evil dragon. Do you want me to become a dragon slayer? Chen Zhao's heart jumped. Was this also a dragon's territory? If you want to go, then go. If you don't want to go, no one can force you. However, I have another piece of news to tell you. Several evil dragons have gathered in Los Angeles. A conservative estimate is that there are at least 10 or more evil dragons. 2 of them are father-level evil dragons and have been blacklisted in Huaxia. They once caused trouble in Huaxia and escaped with serious injuries. Now that so many evil dragons have gathered together, something big might happen. So many evil dragons? Chen Zhao frowned. As a local tyrant, he actually didn't know about this at all. On the other hand, Zhang Tianyi, who was thousands of miles away, was more informed than Chen Zhao. Why are you telling me this? 20 years ago, these 2 evil dragons stole the most precious treasure of Qingqing, then escaped without a trace. If you fight against them, you must be careful. Qingqing's treasure? What's that? Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion, Zhang Tianyi said. Zhang Tianyi said, I haven't seen the effect of the Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion, but I heard from the people of Qingqing Mountain that the Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion was a magic weapon refined by Qingqing Zi, an ancient cultivator. It's a top-grade protective magic weapon. It's different from the refining of modern Huaxia's spiritual world. The level of refining in ancient times is much higher than that of modern times. Besides, even I can't deal with 2 dragons at the same time. I didn't say I'm going to fight them. Are you in such a hurry to send me to the battlefield? That Yellow Jade Divine Mansion is a top-quality protective treasure. You might not be able to use it, but your family can. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. If I steal the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion, won't the people of Qingqing Mountain come and take it from me? You can change its appearance. Who would know it's in your hands? I still have you. How about I go to Dragon Tiger Mountain and kill you? If you dare to come, I'll make sure you don't return. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. You're really not going to fight? They're causing trouble in your territory. Don't you hate people invading your territory? I've been cultivating my mind recently. I won't get involved in trivial matters. If you can really cultivate your mind, I'll castrate myself on the spot. That's what you said. I'll watch you castrate yourself. I've seen your physiognomy. You'll never be able to cultivate your mind and mind. Your cultivation technique doesn't pay attention to cultivating your mind and mind. If you cultivate your mind and mind, you'll be crippling your martial arts. Do you know where those evil dragons are hiding? Chen Zhao asked. Look at you. I told you that you can't cultivate your mind. Cut the crap. Do you know? I really don't know. I got the news from the Dragon Slayer headquarters. Chapter 1966. Although Erex could not bear to see Zephyra take the risk alone, but he would not accompany Zephyra to her death. They were dragon slayers. What they pursued was to obtain the most benefits with the least cost. He did not think that it was necessary to accompany Zephyra to take the risk. It was more convenient for Zephyra to move alone than with two people. Two people meant a greater price and a greater risk. Although this was moral, it went against reason. Zephyra, I will send you here, Erex said. Yes, this is enough. Elux took out another printed map and pointed at a circled location. There's a manor in the depths of this forest. It's right here. Normally speaking, this manor has been abandoned for decades. However, it's very likely that those evil dragons are hiding here. I understand. You should leave this place as soon as possible. Zephyra turned and walked into the darkness. Good luck. Erex's voice came from behind. After walking in the forest for a while, Zephyra felt a little uncomfortable. I should have listened to that man. It's still a little hard for me to do this kind of activity. Zephyra did not stop and continued to walk in the direction of the manor. Not long after, Zephyra found traces of dragon claws on the ground. And from the looks of the claw marks, it was left by more than one dragon. Dragon slayers had been hunting evil dragons for many years. They already had a complete set of methods to distinguish the identity, age, and strength of a dragon from its claw marks. With enough equipment, it was even possible to distinguish the attribute of a dragon from the claw marks. There were a few trees in the surroundings that were directly broken, probably by the dragon's tail. Zephyra continued to walk forward. The trees here were all fallen, as if they had experienced a superstorm. The ground was full of messy dragon claw marks. The two dragons must have fought here. But from the analysis of these claw marks, it was more like they were playing than fighting. This was not a good sign. They were too energetic and actually needed to rely on fighting to vent their energy. As she walked forward, Zephyra finally saw the brightly lit manor in front of her. The manor did not seem to be abandoned at all. Although the style was ancient, it was very gorgeous. The instrument on Jevra's wrist began to sound a fierce alarm. Of course, this alarm was not a sound, but a feedback of magic waves to Zephyra. This was the feedback from the mana energy detector. The mana fluctuations were getting stronger and stronger, and the detector was also shaking violently. It was as if she was reminding Zephyra to run away from here. Zephyra's expression changed slightly. This device should be able to detect a range of about 10 kilometers. Why did the device only sound the alarm when he arrived in front of the manor? This was illogical. Moreover, the alarm from the instrument was unprecedentedly intense. Just then, Zephyra saw a woman standing at the entrance of the manor. Chui Xin. That's right, it was her. She was too familiar with Chui Xin. Zephyra and Chui Xin had been chasing after her for 3 years. Chui Xin had a mocking look on her face. She seemed to have known that Zephyra was coming. Zephyra turned around and fled into the darkness. But in the next instant, she was blocked by a giant dragon that descended from the sky. Shadow Cloak. Zephyra immediately activated her Shadow Cloak. But at this moment, the descending dragon swept Zephyra out of the shadows with its huge tail. The flaw of Shadow Cloak was too obvious. She couldn't move, and even her own senses were blinded. If it was an ambush in advance, Shadow Cloak would be very effective. But to use Shadow Cloak directly in front of the evil dragon, it was no different from burying one's head in the sand. Zephyra was directly swept away by the dragon's tail. She fell heavily to the ground and vomited a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Chui Xin walked over with a smile on her face. She looked at the embarrassed Zephyra. Miss Zephyra, you didn't expect that you would be in such a sorry state, did you? At this moment, a metal gauntlet appeared on Zephyra's hands. It was a dragon-slaying weapon. This metal gauntlet had been sealed with magic. At this moment, Zephyra finally unsealed it, put it on, and aimed at Chui Xin. Go to hell! Zephyr shouted. Boom! The dragon's mouth at the top of the metal gauntlet sprayed out a torrent that directly hit Cui Xin. Cui Xin was directly swept away by the torrent. The power of this dragon-slaying weapon was indeed extraordinary. It could reach 70% of the power of an adult dragon in one strike. If it was a sneak attack and there was a follow-up attack, it could indeed bring about unexpected results. But at this moment, Zephyr was only one person. She had no strength to follow up with a follow-up attack. Cui Xin stood up again. How powerful! I have never seen such a powerful dragon-slaying weapon. If I was alone, I'm afraid I would be dead. Unfortunately, the one alone is not me, but you. Cui Xin looked at Zephyr playfully. Zephyr took out a syringe and directly injected a green potion into her neck. Then a blue potion, and then a red potion. And Cui Xin had no intention of stopping it. The current you can't even defeat me in my human form. Cui Xin crossed her arms in front of her chest. She was not in a hurry to kill Zephyr. She wanted to have a good time. Ah! Zephyr shouted, and the magic power on her body increased by several times. But even if her magic power increased by several times, compared to Cui Xin, it was still like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The gap between them was too big. This kind of gap could not be made up for by a few bottles of potion. Zephyr was once again sent flying, but she quickly got up again. At this moment, a phone suddenly rang on the ground not far away. Zephyr searched her body. The phone seemed to be Portia's. She had thrown it on the ground during the battle. Cui Xin picked up the phone in front of her. The caller ID showed that it was the boss. Cui Xin subconsciously thought that this person was that man. The boss of the dragon-slaying guild might be the leader of the dragon slayers. If that was the case, it made sense. Why was that man so powerful that he could fight an adult dragon alone? Hello. Cui Xin answered the phone. Your subordinate is now in my hands. Aren't you coming to save her? My subordinate? Are you trying to use her to threaten me? You can think of it that way. If you don't come, then I will kill her. All right, I will do as you wish. Chapter 1967. Cui Xin hung up and crushed her phone. A smile appeared on her face. Got it? That guy's here. Zevra wanted to explain that this had nothing to do with that person. It had nothing to do with him, but she knew better. No matter how she explained, it was useless. These dragons wouldn't believe her explanation. Just then, Zevra saw a dozen huge figures appear in the darkness. The appearance of these figures completely covered the moonlight and starlight. The dragon might they emitted also made one's scalp go numb. Even someone like Zevra, who'd faced dragon might countless times, still felt fear. Especially the two dragons. Their bodies were 3 or 4 times larger than the other dragons. One of them had dark and mottled skin. Its back was covered in bone spikes and its mouth was extremely huge. The other dragon was slightly smaller, but it was colorful. Apart from the dragon's body, it also rippled with surging magic power. These two dragons should be at the level of dragon fathers. The other dragons seemed very monotonous. Zevra could roughly distinguish the attributes of the other adult dragons. Such a lineup could almost start a world war. Zevra was already in despair. No one could win against such a lineup. Even if all the dragon slayers came out, they couldn't fight against such a terrifying lineup. Including the two dragon fathers, Cui Xin and Shengen, there were 13 dragons in total. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside the forest. Rumble, he's here. Ingli has already contacted the dragon slayer. The invisible dragon Ingli was guarding outside. He was in charge of pestering Qinzhao. We can start now, Tugu said. Let me, Cui Xin said. Just then, Cui Xin's magic powers suddenly became restless. In an instant, a very strange wave passed through Refra's body. Zephyr's body froze for a moment. She didn't understand what was happening. Just then, the magic around her thinned. Okay, the Dragon Slayer has been enveloped by the alternate dimension. Just then, a figure descended from the sky. Zevra's pupils constricted. It's Qinzhao. He's a spiritualist? Zevra was shocked, but she also felt that it was reasonable. You're the dragon slayer who injured Sheng'an? I'm not a dragon slayer, but I have killed a few dragons before. Including the one that was invisible, there should be 5 of them. Her eyes widened and she stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. This man had killed a dragon before? And there were 5 of them? How was this possible? Moreover, it had only been less than 30 seconds. Did he really kill a dragon? You killed Ingli? Melita looked at Chen Zhao, gritting her teeth. Melita, don't worry. Ingli won't be killed that easily. Even the 2 of us won't be able to defeat Ingli that easily. But Ingli's aura has indeed disappeared. Ingli is best at concealment. Father, mother, let me test him. Suddenly, a colossal dragon, whose entire body shone with a metallic luster, charged out. This was an iron dragon, a metal dragon. His body was practically made of metal, and his defensive power was even close to that of his father, Tugu. Chen Zhao rubbed his nose with a faint smile. Can you give me a minute? Chen Zhao looked at the dragons. What can you do in a minute? Or prepare to die? Melita sneered at Chen Zhao. Saint and had been standing at the side, staring at Chen Zhao. He didn't like this feeling. Whether it was his enemies or his companions, they all gave him a bad feeling. Melita kept staring at Chen Zhao. Just like that, Chen Zhao faced the dragon's encirclement. Facing more than a dozen dragons, he stood there without moving. Was he scared out of his wits? It made sense. Anyone would pale in front of such a formation. Even an experienced dragon slayer like her couldn't keep calm, let alone Chen Zhao. The dragons kept their word and didn't attack Chen Zhao. They really wanted to give him a minute. Perhaps to them, this formation couldn't lose. To them, it wasn't a battle anymore. It was a game. It was a game between the predator and the prey. The prey was a dragon slayer. This made them even more excited. They wouldn't be stingy with this minute. They could let the prey enjoy 1 more minute of despair. It would only make them more happy. Time passed bit by bit. Chen Zhao stood there. He didn't know what he was doing. But to Zafra, every second was torturous. Melita wasn't afraid of death. To her, death was already her fate. Everyone who accepted the identity of a dragon slayer had accepted death. They saw dying in battle as glory. But waiting for death didn't feel good. This kind of waiting stretched out the moment of death. Suddenly, a familiar yet unfamiliar ripple spread across Refra's body. The other Dragon Clan members also sensed this fluctuation. What did you do? Just like what you did. To prevent you from escaping. Chen Zhao smiled. Ignorant human, you don't understand what you're doing. Tuga laughed. Chen Zhao used a minute to activate the alternate space spell. On the basis of the original alternate dimension, another alternate dimension was added. As long as he didn't die or remove the spell, everyone and the dozen dragons would be trapped in the alternate space. In other words, this place had changed from a one-sided prison to a ring. It was an arena that would not rest until one side was completely annihilated. No one could escape from this arena. Chen Zhao was worried that if the dragons wanted to escape and they removed the alternate space spell, he'd be in the same situation as last time. Chen Zhao didn't like the feeling of being played again. So, he had to put both sides in the same position in this battle. Chen Zhao looked at Melita. Where are my subordinates? Portia's sick. I took her phone and they thought you were my boss. Melita didn't explain further. Portia's only sick. Yes. So she wasn't caught by them? Is that what you mean? Melita nodded. Don't worry. Okay, walk toward me. Just then, the metal dragon's body had already enveloped the sky above Melita. Do you want to save her? Do you think you can do it? You can't do anything. You'll only see your subordinates get crushed in front of you. With that, the metal dragon's huge claws swiped at Melita. Chapter 1968. Just as the metal dragon was about to land, Chen Zhao moved. He shot toward the metal dragon like a bolt of lightning. Suddenly, a huge body blocked Chen Zhao's way. The body was blue and white and was also extremely fast. He was a wind dragon. Of course, he could also be called a storm dragon. Speed was his forte. Among the dragon clan, There were almost no dragons of other attributes that could compete with his speed. However, Chen Zhao wasn't fooling around with them right now. He charged toward the storm dragon. The storm dragon froze instantly. A huge hole appeared in his chest. At the same time, the dragon ball hidden in his chest disappeared too. It wasn't Chen Zhao's first time facing a dragon ball. He knew how to kill a dragon. The moment the metal dragon was about to land its claws, Chen Zhao's fist filled with power brought out a shadow. Boom, Zephyra was prepared to die. But the next moment, she saw the metal dragon suddenly fly out. Its huge body flew hundreds of meters away. Then the storm dragon, who'd been blocking in front of Chen Zhao, collapsed. In Chen Zhao's palm was a blood-stained dragon ball the size of a basketball. Zephyra's mouth gaped open. Disbelief was written all over her face. Was this real? Was what was happening in front of him real? It wasn't just Zephyra who was frightened. Even the other dragon clan members were frightened by this. The metal dragon wailed. "Mother, save me." Chen Zhao's attack didn't kill him directly, but it was still heavily injured. Melita hurriedly cast a healing spell on the metal dragon. Under Melita's healing magic, the metal dragon was recovering quickly. Xing and had been hiding in a corner. His expression was terrible. Cui Xin wasn't as confident as before. It happened almost instantaneously. One dead and one heavily injured. If it were her and Xing An, they probably wouldn't be much better off than the metal dragon and the storm dragon. Chen Zhao stood before Zephyra. "Stand where you are. Don't do anything. Don't worry about anything else." Zephyra could feel the pressure from Chen Zhao. The power Chen Zhao had displayed was beyond her understanding. Was this man really human? Or could it be that he was also a dragon in human skin? Avatar, 10,000 techniques return to 1, Dark Assimilation, Eye of Power, Mighty God. After transforming into the mighty miracle god, Chen Zhao realized that the power of the world wasn't affected by the alternate dimension. He could still use it freely. He had been worried that he wouldn't be able to use it in the alternate dimension. In the end, Chen Zhao realized that his worries were unnecessary. She looked at Chen Zhao, who had turned into a giant. In her eyes, this was a very ordinary enhancement spiritualist spell. Gigantism was not a particularly brilliant spell in the field of strengthening. Could Chen Zhao really defeat so many dragons in his current state? There were also the 2 dragon father-level dragons. When Chen Zhao attacked, one died and the other was injured. This made the other dragons feel that today's matter wouldn't be so simple. "Human, your strength has won my respect." Tugu suddenly said, "I will express my apologies to you in the name of Tugu Amosi Haber. Perhaps we can sit down and talk." "I don't need to be respected. It's fear." Chen Zhao attacked. Holy Spirit's protection. Melita immediately released a super powerful holy light spell. All of the dragons were shrouded in a layer of holy light, and there were halos lingering around the dragons. It was as if countless angels were protecting the dragons. Chen Zhao smashed a dragon with a punch. To Chen Zhao's surprise, his attack didn't manage to kill the dragon instantly. In his normal state, he could already kill the storm dragon in one hit. But now, he was at his peak and still couldn't kill the dragon. This holy light spell was really annoying. A dragon's breath tore through the air and hit Chen Zhao directly. But after the dragon's breath, Chen Zhao was unharmed. Chen Zhao evaluated. It seemed that the 5-color dragon's holy light spell didn't just strengthen the dragon's defense. Even their attacks were strengthened. Their attacks also contained the power of holy light. Zephyra watched the battle between the 2 sides. This was a battle that she couldn't intervene in. The intensity of the battle was far greater than any of her previous battles. Speaking of which, Zephyra had also participated in a dragon-slaying battle. She'd participated as the main force, planner, and commander. But that battle hadn't been easy. She'd almost lost. But compared to the battle in front of him, the previous battle was more like playing house. After a few minutes of fighting, the 2 separated temporarily and regrouped. "Father, Mother, this human is very powerful. Terrifyingly powerful." By now, the other young dragons weren't as confident and arrogant as before. They realized that Chen Zhao's every attack was filled with the intent to kill. If not for their mother's magic protection, at least half of them would be dead by now. Of course, the short battle just now was just a test. Neither side was fighting for real. Tuga's expression wasn't good. What he wanted was to kill an iconic human. He was a powerful and prestigious human being, not an evenly matched enemy. In fact, if he faced this human alone, he wouldn't have any chance of winning. The direction of this war had begun to break away from his control, his expectations. Shengyan and Chuixin had been at the periphery the entire time. They didn't even attack. They were also shocked. Was that really a human? Facing a dozen dragons, including 2 father-level dragons, Chen Zhao wasn't at a disadvantage at all. Unexpectedly, he was not at a disadvantage at all. In fact, he even faintly held the upper hand. Melita, take out your trump card. There's no need to hold back. Tuga's tone wasn't arrogant, angry, or smug. There was only calmness. Melita took out a yellow crystal. When Chen Zhao saw the yellow crystal, he immediately thought of the yellow jade immortal abode that Zhang Tianyi had mentioned to him earlier. He didn't know what effect it had, but he was still on guard against Melita with 120% vigilance. After all, it wasn't a power he was familiar with, even if it came from his hometown. Just then, the yellow crystal suddenly shone with yellow light. Then, the yellow light gathered and formed a huge tiger. The tiger's aura wasn't weaker than Melita's and Tugu's. But Chen Zhao felt a trace of demonic aura from the tiger. Was this yellow crystal some monster's internal alchemy? Chapter 1969. The tiger moved suddenly, pouncing at Chen Zhao without any warning. Chen Zhao punched the tiger right in the face. The tiger's body suddenly collapsed. Chen Zhao thought it was just a show. But the next moment, the tiger recovered. It wasn't weakened at all. Was it the yellow crystal that was continuously providing energy to the tiger? It seemed that to deal with the tiger, he had to either deal with Melita or destroy the yellow crystal. Suddenly, Melita felt Chen Zhao's murderous intent. It's coming! It's coming! Chen Zhao turned his target to her. Chen Zhao's speed exploded again. The tiger quickly blocked in front of Chen Zhao, but Chen Zhao shattered it with one strike. The next moment, Chen Zhao appeared before Melita. Melita felt her hair stand on end. Hello. Chen Zhao grinned. Goodbye. A funny thought suddenly appeared in Melita's mind. Did this guy think he could kill her instantly? But Chen Zhao took out the black trident. Without any hesitation, Melita spat out a 5-colored dragon breath at Chen Zhao. The dragon breath of a 5-colored dragon was called Magic Flood. It was a terrifying impact filled with surging magic. One strike could even flatten a mountain. Chen Zhao also felt the surging magic power, so he chose to avoid it. It wasn't a wise choice to face the dragon breath that made even his hair stand on end. Chen Zhao fully used his advantage in speed. The next moment, he appeared above Melita's head. Seeing his wife in danger, Tugu roared, "How dare you!" But he was never good at speed. He couldn't save her in time. Chen Zhao's black trident was already stabbing toward Melita's head. The destructive magic penetrated Melita's head, cutting off all the neurons in her brain. The holy light protection couldn't stop the immortal power contained in the black trident. It couldn't stop Chen Zhao's power either. Rumble, Melita's huge body crashed to the ground. There was no sound. You're all going to die today. I hear. Chen Zhao stood on Melita's head, holding the black trident in one hand and the yellow crystal in the other. Murderous intent was written all over his face. The scene was silent. That Melita, a dragon father, had died just like that? With Melita's death, the holy light magic on her child also dissipated. But the impact of Melita's death was far more than that. There was also a psychological impact. Jevra almost suffocated. A human had single-handedly killed a dragon of the dragon father level. I'll kill you. Tugu saw his wife being killed in front of him and immediately fell into madness. His body began to enlarge rapidly. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Not long after, his body had already transformed into a giant dragon that was 2,000 to 3,000 meters tall. Zephyra and all the dragons present were stunned. Chen Zhao looked at Tugu calmly. Not only had Tugu's body become bigger, even his strength had doubled. However, Chen Zhao wasn't afraid of a competition of strength. Tugu's enormous claw arrived with a loud rumble. Chen Zhao stabbed the black trident at Tugu's claw. The black trident directly penetrated Tugu's dragon claw. Ouch! Tugu felt an intense pain. Along with the pain was the destructive energy that was spreading from his claw to his forelimbs. Chen Zhao pulled forcefully and Tugu's claw was torn apart. Dragon blood splashed onto Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao flew up and stabbed Tugu's abdomen with another stab. Tugu tried his best to free himself. His enormous tail swept across Chen Zhao. As Chen Zhao flew out, he also stabbed at a dragon behind him. That dragon wasn't as powerful as Tugu and died on the spot. Tugu felt the pain coming from his abdomen almost engulfing his rationality. His originally strong self-healing ability was almost useless now. Chen Zhao bounced off the ground and shot toward Tugu again. Both Cui Xin and Sheng Yan were shocked. The situation was completely out of control now. Cui Xin looked around and suddenly went to Sheng Yan's side. "Don't make a sound. What are you doing?" Sheng Yan asked uneasily. Cui Xin grabbed Sheng Yan's body and took out a strange disc. Then she poured magic power into the disc. Gradually, Sheng Yan felt a wave of magic power wrap around him and Cui Xin. "What's this?" "Don't ask anything," Cui Xin whispered. "Let's go." Sheng Yan and Cui Xin instantly disappeared. Without anyone noticing, Cui Xin took Sheng Yan and escaped from the alternate dimension. In the next instant, the two of them appeared on a vast ocean. Where is this? How did we appear here? How did you do it? There are two alternate dimensions sealed there. I used this, the world compass, Cui Xin said. It's a divine artifact. It's a part of the diamond all. It can teleport the user to a random corner of the world. Why didn't you escape with the others? They're dead if they stay there. That human will kill them all, including Tugu. The world compass can only teleport the two of us. Are you willing to give up on yourself? Stay there and face that human? Cui Xin said with lingering fear, I don't want to meet that human again ever. Fortunately, she didn't tell her people or Sheng Yan. After all, the world compass needed some time to activate. If the other dragons or Chen Zhao had discovered that they were planning to escape, they would have died. They probably wouldn't be able to leave at all. Chen Zhao and the other dragons also discovered the escaping Sheng Yan and Cui Xin. But they didn't have the energy to pay attention now. All of their energy was focused on each other. Tugu's huge body was pierced by Chen Zhao. His body was huge, but he couldn't gain an advantage in this battle. Instead, he became a burden. Chen Zhao's speed was much faster than him, and his strength was also above him. Chen Zhao also held a killing weapon, the Black Trident. If he relied on Melida's magic while she was still alive, he might still have a chance to counterattack. Perhaps he still had a chance to counterattack, but Melida's death had already caused a hole in their formation. Tugu quickly realized that he couldn't do anything. He wanted to escape. After the anger from his wife's death faded, he was only left with the fear of death. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die here. But if Chen Zhao didn't open the alternate dimension, he had nowhere to run. Of course, it wasn't completely impossible. For example, he could use a powerful force to blast open the alternate dimension. But that wasn't something he could do. Chapter 1970. Tugu's huge body collapsed. Chen Zhao hadn't given him the final blow. Right now, Chen Zhao was also a bit tired. The biggest disadvantage of fighting in an alternate dimension was that there was no mana to replenish. In the alternate dimension, Chen Zhao wasn't Superman. Moreover, this alternate dimension was a temporary one. It was created temporarily. When the battle ended or Chen Zhao removed the spell, the alternate dimension would disappear. Chen Zhao also had to maintain the alternate dimension's mana consumption. If it was like the alternate dimension Chen Zhao had created in Mingyue Villa, that was a permanent alternate dimension with an entrance to the normal world, so spiritual qi could freely enter and exit that alternate dimension. Chen Zhao's tired face still had a vicious smile. He didn't give Tugu any time to beg or threaten. Chen Zhao pierced the black trident into Tuga's head. Even if he only pierced the black trident into Tuga's head, it wasn't an easy task. However, Chen Zhao still had to focus. He turned to the remaining dragons. The dragons were scared out of their wits. After all, Chen Zhao's ferocity had exceeded their imagination and understanding. In this battle, they had made a solemn vow at the very beginning, but then they had suffered one blow after another, and now they were almost at the edge of despair. You'll all become part of my collection. Chen Zhao looked at the dragons. The dragons could see Chen Zhao's exhaustion. So they decided to fight to the death. But reality proved that their thoughts were unnecessary. No matter how hungry a tiger was, it wasn't something a few sheep could defeat. They weren't warriors fighting back, but lambs struggling on the brink of death. Killing them wasn't difficult at all. Of course, it still took some effort. It was finally over. Chen Zhao sat on the ground, panting continuously. Zephyr stood there. She'd forgotten the pain on her body. She was still in a state of shock. A human had killed more than a dozen giant dragons in a single battle. This wasn't a normal battle anymore. It was an epic, a legend. After recovering some energy, Chen Zhao started to clean up the dragons' corpses. Tugu, Melita, and their 12 children. After that, Chen Zhao looked at Zephyr. Zephyr, I'm tired. I won't send you off. With that, Chen Zhao disappeared into the night sky. This battle was basically Chen Zhao's limit. Of course, this was in the alternate dimension. In a normal world, Chen Zhao's stamina would be many times higher. But he didn't gain nothing from this battle. At the very least, the bodies of these dragons and the yellow jade immortal abode were valuable spoils of war. Hey, Faxben, good morning. Ruan Faxben was still sleeping now. It was only 8 in the morning in Europe. As for the Europeans, 8 o'clock was still their bedtime. Ruan Faxi wanted to scold someone. However, considering that if he were to curse at someone on the phone, the consequences would be very serious. President, it's only 2 or 3 in the morning in Los Angeles. 3:21. What can I do for you? I've killed a dozen more dragons today. Ruan jumped out of bed. President, are you serious? 2 of them seem to be particularly powerful. They're more than twice the size of an ordinary dragon. How should we deal with their bodies? Is there anything special to pay attention to? Keep it first. Don't dismember it completely. Ruan Faxibin said, wait for me to go back. I'll deal with it when I go back. President, those 2 dragons are dragon fathers. They're very rare. Ruan Faxi wasn't interested in ordinary dragons at the moment. But a dragon at the level of a dragon father was unprecedented. There had never been the remains of a dragon father-level dragon wandering outside. Almost all of them were recycled by the dragons themselves. Okay. By the way, what are the attributes of the 2 dragon fathers? One of them is a 5-color dragon. I don't know about the other one, but he can increase his size by a dozen times. A 5-color dragon. Boss, this is good stuff. Is the body of the 5-colored dragon still intact? Other than the hole I made in her head, everything else is relatively intact. That's good, that's good. Are 5-colored dragons very rare? It's not just rare. It's said that among the dragon clan, the 5-colored dragons will only choose a giant dragon with the potential of a dragon king as their partner. Then didn't I kill the future dragon king and queen? By the way, I wiped out their entire family. Does that mean I have a huge grudge against the dragon clan? This potential isn't unique, so there's no such thing as killing the future dragon king and queen. That's good. If the dragon clan comes out in full force, I'm really not confident. To be honest, just dealing with a dragon clan family was already exhausting for Chen Zhao. If there were more dragons, Chen Zhao would probably kneel too. Of course, this battle also made Chen Zhao realize his own strength. He was far from being invincible. There were still people or creatures that could threaten him in this world. If there had been another dragon father in the battle just now, Chen Zhao might have been the one kneeling. Other than the 2 dragon fathers, what other attributes are there? A black dragon, a demon dragon, a wind dragon? Chen Zhao counted. I can't tell the others apart. Ruan Faxben couldn't help but admire Chen Zhao. There were more than 10 dragons, including 2 dragon fathers. The spoils were too rich. Don't dismember the demon dragon either. It's a good raw material for a humorous dragon. You can leave it for Hellies. Oh, I don't think I should dismember the bodies of the dragons, Qinzhao said. Otherwise, it'll be a waste. Let's decide after you all come back. Hellies won't be that fast now. It'll probably take at least a decade to successfully create a humorous dragon. Is it because of the difference in strength or lack of materials? Both. How's Exenli these days? She's in good shape. We found a new clue, Ruan Faxben said. Actually, he didn't think they could get anything. The legendary golden apple really wasn't easy to find. But before Exenli got completely bored, he could only be Qinzhao's babysitter. Right now, he wanted to grow a pair of wings and fly back to study Qinzhao's spoils. But if he did that, even if he grew wings, Qinzhao would pluck them out. Take care of Exenli. I'll wait for you at the finish line. Finish line? President? What do you mean? Don't hang up. Chapter 1971. Chen Zhao had already gotten the exact location of the golden apple tree from the 23rd Blood Mary. Even the precise coordinates were already known. However, Chen Zhao still hoped that Exenli could find it with her own power. After returning to Mingyue Villa, Chen Zhao started playing with the yellow crystal, the so-called yellow jade divine residence. He sent his immortal power in and the residence started glowing yellow. However, he couldn't turn the yellow light into a tiger like Melita. Just from the name, it was Yellow Jade Divine Residence. Chen Zhao also used immortal power, so their powers should be very compatible. However, Melita was a dragon and she used magic power, not immortal power. Since she could use it, it meant that he didn't have to use immortal power to open the residence. It seemed that there was a trick to using it. However, he didn't understand it yet. Hey, old Zhang, do you know how to use that Yellow Jade Divine Residence? Don't tell me that you got it? You killed all those evil dragons? I'll ask first, Qinzhao denied directly. In case I don't know how to use it when I get it. You really got it? Did you kill all those evil dragons? Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Do you know how to use it or not? Are Melita and Tuga dead? Zhang Tianyi was very excited, as if he hadn't heard Chen Zhao's question. Old Zhang, there's something wrong with your mood. Are you hiding something from me? No, why would I hide anything from you? Zhang Tianyi's happiness was beyond words. Chen Zhao could feel Zhang Tianyi's emotions even if he was deaf. I'm sorry to tell you, Chen Zhao said. I only injured 2 of them and they ran away. I only killed a few dragon babies. Zhang Tianyi's laughter stopped. What did you say? They ran away. How could you be so careless? Why didn't you stop them? Even if only one survived, what's the point of killing a few dragon babies? Zhang Tianyi cursed. Do you think I can stop them just because I say so? Don't you know how strong they are? They must be seriously injured now. It's good for you to chase after them. Alright, which direction did they escape to? Maybe we'll find some clues along the way. Let's catch up to them and kill them while they're seriously injured. Zhang Tianyi felt hopeful again. Tell me first, why are you so excited? Do you hate them for killing your father and stealing your wife? Get lost, am I that vulgar? Then tell me a reason. Zhang Tianyi licked his lips. The son of the current Dragon King is their competitor. Back then, I tricked them into entering Huaxia. Originally, I wanted to use the power of Huaxia's supernatural world to kill them both. You shameless old fox, Qinzhao cursed. You've lowered the moral bottom line of humans, he said. I'm ashamed to know you. The Dragon King of the Dragon Clan promised me in private that if I could kill Tugu and Melita, he would give me an elemental fruit. What's that? It can allow creatures other than humans to evolve into elemental attributes. If it's a demon beast that has gained intelligence, it can develop a second attribute. In any case, it's for beasts to eat. You're a living person. What do you want that for? Could it be that you're a mixed blood, a half-human half-demon like in the movies? Get lost. If you want to call me a bastard, just do it. Do you think I can't hear you beating around the bush? Okay, I'm just curious. Our Longhu Mountain has a spirit beast that guards the mountain. It's only half a step away from the Shangqing state and has been guarding the mountain gate for 500 years. Since it has done a great job guarding the mountain gate, I thought of giving it an elemental fruit because we don't have anything to reward it with. So it's useful even for beasts? That's what the Dragon King said. Help me get 3. You can take 1 and leave. I'll chase after them until I die. You think it's dragon fruit? You can buy a dozen at the supermarket for $100. I'll try. There's no harm in it. Didn't you just call me despicable and shameless? People always say one thing but mean another. You even said I lowered the moral bottom line of humans. Let's not talk about the first. You're also a bastard who forgets morality for benefits. Cut the crap. Are you doing it or not? I say, did Tugu and Melita really escape? If he escapes, he'll die. In any case, it's up to you and me to say it. If the Dragon King wants his son to inherit the throne, he'll have to take the bait. The Dragon King isn't easy to deal with. I'm taking a big risk. Fucking mouth. I'm risking my life here. How dare you say it's risky? If you don't want it, I'll find someone else. Don't contact me again, you shameless old man. We're done. You fucking, do you still want the method to activate the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion? I've scolded too much. Let's get down to business. Give me the method to use the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion. I don't have it now. Fuck, are you messing with me? I said I don't have it now, but that doesn't mean I can't get it. How long? I'll go to Qingqing Mountain and find an excuse to walk around their library. Then I'll get it. Why should I let you take a look around his library? Are you shameless? I am. You don't like it? Speaking of which, give me Tugu and Melita's heads. Otherwise, people won't believe me without proof. Don't even think about it, Qin Zhao said. If you want their heads, give me something of equal value. Zhang Tianyi said he wanted Tugu and Melita's heads as proof. Chen Zhao wouldn't fall for it easily. There were so many things that could be used as proof. Why did he need heads? Then I'll give you 1,000-year-old red spirit whitethroat. What do you think? Chen Zhao didn't know what red spirit whitethroat was, but it sounded powerful. But Qin Zhao refused. No, I plan on turning them into puppets. What kind of puppet are you making? You don't practice puppet techniques at all. I don't, but my subordinates do. The value of 2 complete dragon bodies can't be compared to regular items. Then I'll use red spirit whitethroat to trade for a dragon horn. Melita's dragon horn, just 1 is enough. Seriously, don't you feel any guilt towards Tugu and Melita? Guilt my ass. Those 2 are the most anti-human in the dragon race. It's not too much to do anything to them. If Tugu really becomes the Dragon King, it'll really be a world war. Who's going to die if not them? I lose in terms of shamelessness. Chapter 1972. To Zephyra, the impact of tonight was too great. It was an indescribable war. A war between humans and dragons. Zephyra had never thought that humans could be so powerful. They could even crush the dragons. The dragons were slaughtered one after another. It was completely different from the teamwork of the dragon slayers. They won completely by fighting the dragons head-on. That was what she pursued, the ultimate power. When the battle ended, Zephyra was still in a dream. Even now, she still couldn't completely believe that it was real. In the past, Zephyra even thought that she was at the peak of humans in terms of fighting skills. Or even spiritualists, apart from the fact that magic power needed to be accumulated over a long period of time. She should be impeccable. But Chen Zhao's appearance and the war between humans and dragons had completely overturned her understanding of humans. Zephyra. Seeing Zephyra come out, Ilux immediately ran over. Great, you're okay? I'm already dead, Zephyra said calmly. What? Zephyra, what do you mean? There was a rule among the dragon slayers. When someone said that they were already dead, it meant that they were going to give up their identity as a dragon slayer. They were tired of this identity and fighting. Then they could quit. Of course, there was a big premise before that. He'd killed an evil dragon before. Since he'd killed an evil dragon, it meant that he'd paid back what the Dragon Slayer organization had given him. So he had every right to quit. Ilux, you'll be the leader of the team from now on, Zephyr said. Why are you quitting? Ilux's face was filled with anger. Zephyr stopped and turned to look at Ilux. Are you going to attack me? In the original Dragon Slayer organization, if a Dragon Slayer wanted to quit, the organization would hunt him down and kill him. At that time, the organization had too much say and didn't give the subordinate Dragon Slayers any right to speak. To them, the organization nurtured them, raised them, and gave them knowledge and power that normal people couldn't reach. Everything a Dragon Slayer had was given by the organization. So quitting meant betrayal. But as time passed, more and more Dragon Slayers rejected this idea. This was especially true for those old comrades who had fought alongside them for decades. If they wanted to quit, how could their comrades in the same squad have the heart to hunt them down? After numerous struggles, the Dragon Slayer organization was finally forced to make changes. Zevra had every right to quit the organization, and no one could do anything to her, especially the Dragon Slayer within the organization. Anyone who laid a hand on Zafra would be going against all the Dragon Slayers. Ilux was furious, but he had no intention of attacking. Zefra, are you agitated? Ilux looked at Zefra. Oh yes, is it because the headquarters did not send any reinforcements? I know it's cold-blooded for the headquarters to do this, but no, I'm not blaming the headquarters or the higher-ups. They didn't do anything wrong. I just realized that my horizons are too narrow. There are more powerful people in this world, and today, I witnessed a legendary battle, Zivla said calmly. What are you talking about? Could it be the 23rd generation Blood Mary of the Scarlet Church? Or Celestial Master Zhang from Mount Longhu? Did they intervene in the dragon gathering? None of them. I dare say that the person is more powerful than the two of them. That person killed all the dragons, a total of 14, including the 2 dragon fathers. That's impossible. Even the 23rd generation Blood Mary or Celestial Master Zhang would not be able to do that. That's why I said that our vision is too narrow. Zephyr said, I should go. Goodbye. Keep the weapons and equipment as a souvenir for me. When Zephyr returned home, she saw Portia lying on the sofa. The television in the living room was still on. Portia heard the sound of Zephyr entering the door and sat up. She looked at Zephyr, who was covered in dirt. Zephyr, you're like this again. Do you want to call a doctor? Or the police? No need. Then I'll call the boss tomorrow to take a look. I'll go with you to see your boss tomorrow. Why are you going to see my boss? I met some bad guys on the way. Your boss happened to pass by and helped me beat them away. I see. Portia nodded. Where's my phone? Zephyr took out a pile of broken pieces. I accidentally broke it. Portia was speechless. It doesn't look like it's broken. I'll pay you another one tomorrow. The SIM card is not broken. It can still be used. Zephyr's face was calm. This made Portia, who had been anxious the whole night, feel her anger disappear. Go wash up. I'll prepare something for you to eat. No need. I'll wash up and then go to bed. Sleep? You said you want to sleep? What's wrong? Is there a problem? Portia kept staring at Zephyr. Could this guy be an imposter? However, Zephyr did not care about Portia's thoughts. She turned around and went into the bathroom. Help me get my pajamas. The next day, when Portia woke up, she found that Zephyr had also woken up. Zephyr, you only slept for a few hours last night. Is it really enough? It's enough. How is your body? Zephyr went forward and reached out to touch Portia's forehead. Yes, the fever has gone down. Portia felt like she was being taken care of like a child in front of Zephyr. Do you really want to go with me to see my boss? Yes, I need to thank him personally. All right then. Our boss doesn't seem like a good person. It's rare for him to do something good. Zephyr was already used to Portia mocking her boss behind his back. After a good night's sleep, Zephyr looked even more energetic. Although she was injured again last night, after a good night's sleep, Zephyr's body and mind had recovered a lot. After the 2 women cleaned up and went out, Zephyr said, Drive my car. Portia was naturally happy to drive Zephyr's car. After all, Zephyr's car was a sports car, and it saved her money on gas. In the car, Portia asked curiously, Zephyr, did boss get rid of those bad guys? Zephyr looked at Portia. What do you think? Portia thought for a moment and replied, boss looks like he's always smiling, but when he fights, he doesn't let anyone stand. So, I really doubt that those bad guys are still alive. Some things are better known. Don't say or ask, Zephyr said indifferently. After all, this kind of thing is very troublesome. Don't cause trouble for your boss, and don't cause trouble for yourself. Chapter 1973. We're here. The manor on the cliff is the boss's home. Is your boss that rich? Very. You can't even imagine how rich he is. Let's hurry. We can still make it for breakfast. Portia said. Is that why you won't let me eat breakfast? Damn capitalists. You have no idea how extravagant his dining table is. After Portia parked the car, she brought Refra into the manor. Chen Zhao's family was indeed eating breakfast. Boss, Miss Feilai, Feilai saw an unfamiliar woman come in with Portia. Boss, Miss Refra is here to thank you. Sir, other than thanking you for helping me last night, I'm also here to apply for a job. Apply? Yes, I plan on applying for the same position as Portia. Portia stared at Refra in shock. Was she here to steal her job? Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at Refra. Give me a reason to hire you. I can handle things that you and Portia can't handle, Refra said. What about the salary? I'll ask for whatever Portia's salary is. Okay, Chen Zhao agreed. That simple? Don't you need to think about it? Ortes? No, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. You're right. Things that Portia and I can't handle can be handled by you. Boss, I feel like you're planning on having Refra do something like murder or arson. Yeah, Chen Zhao shrugged. To be honest, this was one of the reasons Chen Zhao kept Refra. Refra was indeed a good helper. Of course, the main reason was that there were too many children at home. He really needed someone to share the burden with Portia. Welcome. Are you Refra? I'm Feilai. Hello, Miss Feilai. I won't keep you company. I'll have Chen and the kids show you around. Bye. Feilai hurried to work, while Chen Zhao started his morning exercise. Refra was very curious about Chen Zhao's training. However, she realized that Chen Zhao's training was very ordinary. Of course, this ordinary referred to the combat power that Chen Zhao had displayed in the battle against the dragons yesterday. If it was an ordinary person, it would be almost impossible to accomplish. Even she couldn't exercise as much as Chen Zhao. Zephyr stood in the front yard and watched Chen Zhao swim in the sea. Soon he disappeared from her sight. But very soon, Revla could no longer enjoy the view of the sea so leisurely, because the children in the house soon began to make a scene. They had been holding it in for a few days. A few days ago, the weather was terrible and the sea was stormy. So, they were locked up at home every day. The furthest they could go was the front yard. Little Larissa could already trot, though not very steadily. Little Jerlin had already transformed into a little monkey. She had basically climbed everything in the house that could be climbed. At this moment, Jerlin had climbed to the top of the dragon's head in the courtyard. Zephyr was speechless, but she did not find it strange. This dragon head was clearly one of his spoils of war. Portia was not going to let Jevra off so easily. Even though it was Zephyr's first day on the job and she was injured. But Portia still wanted Zephyr to feel the horror of these children and the pain she had suffered in the past. Although Zephyr was young, she was no worse than Portia when it came to housework. Just then, there was a call from the housekeeping system. Zephyr was about to pick it up when she realized that Chen Zhao had returned. Hey West. Chen Zhao was drying his hair with a towel. How's the past 2 days? It's not going well, West said. We're in trouble, West said. The situation here is more serious than we imagined. This is no longer a battle, but a war. Zephyr stood not far away, listening to Chen Zhao and West's conversation. Chen Zhao did not turn on the speaker, but Zephyr could still hear West's voice. After all, Zafra was a former dragon slayer. Her senses and reactions were far superior to normal people. With her hearing alone, even in a noisy environment, she could hear people's conversations from a few meters away, not to mention indoors. Do you need me to help? President, you know that I can't accept it. This was West's insistence. If Chen Zhao came, all their previous efforts would be for nothing. Chen Zhao was too powerful. He heard from Ruan Fazabin's call today. Chen Zhao had killed another dozen dragons last night. If Chen Zhao participated in this battle between the natural and the unnatural, he would not be able to survive. Then the situation would be reversed in an instant. There was no suspense at all. West didn't bring the members of the association to carry out the Scarlet mission for the reward. It was for the training of the association members. He felt that this kind of serious situation and pressure was what the members of the association should be facing. Guild leader, I know what you want to say. West talked to Chen Zhao once a day. Although it was to report on the progress of the mission, it was more like to ensure his safety. Chen Zhao's calls always ended with one sentence. If there's any danger, call him immediately. All right, I won't repeat it. Be careful. After hanging up, Chen Zhao looked at Thera. You and Portia stay at home and help me take care of the kids. I'll be out for 2 hours. Revla had gradually adapted to this job. It had to be said that her adaptability was very strong. This was also an ability cultivated by his previous identity. Chen Zhao drove to the headquarters. Right now, there were 4 people in the headquarters: Aduz, Nelly Wenlancy, Jigs, and Maiev. A few days ago, Chen Zhao had heard that Maiev had awakened magic and had a special bloodline. It was normal for people like Maiev to awaken magic or a special bloodline after being strongly stimulated. She should be a first or second night awakener. However, she'd been pretending to be dead at the time. Everyone thought that she was in a coma or in self-isolation, but she'd actually woken up. This was why no one had noticed her night of awakening. Because she'd been in the association's headquarters, she'd been killed by the members of the association and the evil spirit group during the night of awakening. Everyone had even forgotten that it was the night of awakening. Sometimes, when one's power reached a certain level, this kind of attack couldn't even be considered an attack anymore. The only one who could truly pressure the members of the association was probably Third Night. There were already a few people in the association who could face the Third Night alone. Chapter 1974. Hey, Adonis, Ziggs. As soon as Chen Zhao arrived, he saw Aduz and Jigs fishing by the lake. Giggs, you really don't look like you should be sitting by the lake fishing. Giggs was only in his early 30s. In Chen Zhao's impression, fishing was something people around Aduz's age would do. Giggs had told him that he had a company that did the import and export of agricultural products. It was not a small scale, and the company's annual profit was about $50 million. This was already the scale of a large company. He seemed to be a little disheartened now. He didn't care about the company anymore and just stayed at the association's headquarters all day. Chen Zhao didn't mind having another pair of chopsticks in the headquarters. But he still felt that Giggs should pull himself together. President, are you saying that I'm old? Aduz looked at Chen Zhao. Fine, I misspoke. Chen Zhao shrugged. Where are Miss Neri and Miss Maiev? Ever since Maiev awakened, he's been practicing magic all day with Miss Neri. Jig's face was full of resentment. Mr. Chen, can I awaken too? I can't help you with that. My wife is also a normal person, Chen Zhao said helplessly. But I can make your body better. This is for you. Chen Zhao tossed a strengthening potion to Jigs. We have a few members who haven't awakened their magic power. They're no weaker than spiritualists. Actually, Chen Zhao could understand Gig's pain. He blamed himself for being weak and powerless. And now, even his wife, who had been hurt in the past, was becoming stronger. She didn't even need his protection anymore. On the contrary, he was the one who needed protection the most. That was why he had become so decadent. No matter how much money he could make, it couldn't make up for this sense of loss. Aside from me, Aduz said, Mr. Chin, can you train me? There are people in the association who are more professional than me, such as Gaia and Klaus. They are better than me in this aspect, and I'm not suitable to train you. Just then, Nellie Winlancy and Miv walked over. Mr. Chen, the two greeted. Mr. Chen, I want you to take a look at my magic. I don't know much about other systems of magic. I just want to see how effective magic is in actual combat. To be honest, Chen Zhao was more willing to let her husband, Jigs, take care of this, instead of asking an outsider like him to come. Mr. Chen, Jigs said, Maev doesn't have anyone to teach him. Please help him. All right then. We better back off, Nellie Winlancy said. Maev's magic is very powerful. Is this enough? Aduz asked. Not enough, Nellie Winlancy said. Maev's spell has a large range. By this time, they had already retreated 50 meters away. Nellie Winlancy didn't stop until she was 100 meters away. This should be a safe distance, Nellie said. Chen Zhao faced Maev. Maev, you can start now. I can attack however I want. Since it's a test of magic, you can start with the weaker ones. Yes, I understand. Maev nodded. After Maev reminded her, she started to attack. Her attacks did not have complex magic incantations or time to prepare. Instead, they were instant. She only needed to open her mouth to attack. Maev screamed. Chen Zhao was shocked at first, thinking that something had happened to Maev. But very soon he realized that Maev's screams were magic attacks. There was no trace of the sound. It was just an invisible sound wave. Chen Zhao felt something hit his body. Even his ears felt pressurized. The sound wave attack was not strong, but it was not disintegrated by Chen Zhao's non-elemental body. The effect was minuscule, but it was indeed effective on Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao immediately understood. The sound wave attack looked like a magic attack, but it was actually a physical attack. This was because sound had to be transmitted through a medium. It was a physical transmission method. Chen Zhao's non-elemental body was only effective against magic attacks. Also, Chen Zhao remembered that apart from physical attacks, sound was also the strongest attack on eardrums. Mr. Chen, how's my magic? Not bad, but not enough. You can try to increase its power. Is it group or individual? You seem to be good at studying it alone, Chen Zhao said in surprise. There are actually group and individual attacks. Let's try individual attacks first. Maev took 2 more steps back and opened her mouth again. But this time, she did not make a loud sound. Instead, it was very soft. But to Chen Zhao, the sound was very ear-piercing. Even Chen Zhao could not help but grit his teeth and cover his ears with his hands. However, the sound was too penetrating. Chen Zhao's hands were actually useless. Just then, Chen Zhao thought of an idea. He could directly control the spiritual qi in the world and expel all the air in his ears, turning his ears into a vacuum. As expected, without air as a medium, the sound lost its effect. After Maev stopped attacking, Chen Zhao's ears were finally filled with air again. Chen Zhao gave her a thumbs up. Amazing! Your magic is very strong. Really? Not many people can make me uncomfortable, Chen Zhao said. This is a high-frequency sound, right? Then let me see group attacks. Miv opened his mouth again, and this time, it was a loud and clear scream. With Maev as the center, the sound wave instantly exploded and spread in all directions. Chen Zhao gasped. So powerful. The impact was not very powerful, but the range was very large. Maev could at least kill people within a 50-meter radius. Of course, the power of this attack range was nothing to write home about. Against a normal person, she could kill them instantly within this attack range. But it was not enough against a spiritualist. Maev, your attack range is large enough, but it's not powerful enough. Do you have any suggestions for my magic? You've already reached a very high standard for individual attacks. If a spiritualist faces you for the first time, it'll be difficult for them to defend against your full power attack. As for group attacks, you need to modify them further. The range is important, but the power is barely satisfactory. If you want to improve, you need to modify group attacks first. reduce the range appropriately, and ensure the power of the attack. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.